have to write it.
Hi, this is Chen Dong. We didn't get our lease, so I guess I'm going to just notify you guys and exit this Zoom call.
So,
I'm sorry, who do you represent?
Dongchen.
Dong Chen
Yes,
for 3rd Avenue Cannabis Dispensary. We were outbidded on the lease, so we didn't get it, so I'm going to excuse myself from this meeting.
so in effect, you're withdrawing your application.
Yes.
Thank you very much for that information.
Thank you for
Thank you.
going to the trouble of telling us.
Yes.
We really appreciate it.
really.
Okay,
Very-
great. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Come back again if you're successful.
Yeah, speaking of respect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we're live streaming and recording, so we're ready when you are.
Okay, thank you. Okay, welcome to the January 30th, 2025 meeting of the Business Affairs and Licensing Committee. My name is Anton Melner and I'm the chair of the committee. Tonight, we're joined by District Manager Jesus Perez via Zoom and Community Coordinator Brian Lafferty. This meeting is called to order at 6:34 p.m. As a reminder, New York State requires all committee members who are not able to attend the meeting in person to have their cameras on and their first and last names displayed from the time the meeting is called to order until the time the meeting is adjourned. Members of the public who are attending virtually, you can raise any questions or comments that you have through the Q&A feature of Zoom. Members of the public who are here in person, you can raise any questions that you have by raising your hand. If there is time following the committee's discussion, we will field questions from the public. Susan Steinberg has volunteered to take the minutes tonight. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Susan. You're welcome.
We will now take attendance by roll call. Brian Lafferty will conduct the roll call.
Thanks, Anton. Committee members, I'll call your name. When your name is called, please say present. I'll announce if there is quorum. Page Judge. Page here. I don't see Page yet. John Keller,
Present.
thank you. Anton Mulder,
Present.
thank you. Ann Seligman,
Present.
thank you. Susan Steinberg,
Present.
thank you. Sarah Whittington,
Present.
thank you. Michael Ann Rowe,
Present.
thank you. Justin Goldberg,
Present.
thank you. And one more time, Paige Judge.
That's
Yeah.
unusual.
I
Yeah.
don't see Paige. Let me just check.
We'll shoot her a text.
I don't know if I've ever seen Paige absent.
Yeah.
Okay. So with 7 of 8 members present, we have a quorum.
Okay. The end of tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office and is reflected on the screen before you. If there is no objection, we will adopt the agenda. Members of the committee, if you object to adopting the agenda, please raise your hand.
Do we need to change it because of the withdrawn application?
When we get to that, I think as we work our way through.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can just,
Yeah, we don't have.
but a good question.
Yeah. Okay. Seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. The meetings from the November 2024 meeting were distributed ahead of time by the board office. If there's no objection, will you adopt the minutes as drafted? Members of the committee, if you object to adopting the minutes, please raise your hand. Seeing no objections, the minutes from the November 21-24 meeting are adopted. They will be soon available on the CB6 website. The minutes for the October 2024 meeting are still under review, and the minutes from the December 19th, 2024 meetings are being drafted. They will be shared with the committee when they are ready. Okay, some ground rules. In order to conduct an efficient meeting, let's observe a few ground rules. No one may speak until granted the floor. Committee members who are here in person, if you have a question about committee business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand and I will identify you so you can speak. Committee members unable to attend in person, if you have a question about committee business, you may raise your hand through Zoom and I will identify you so you can speak. All committee members, it is extremely important that only one person at a time speaks, so members of the public watching at home can understand what is being said by each committee member. Importantly, the chat function committee business presented via Zoom should not be used for committee business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. Chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties you are having or to state in writing information like an email address that was already stated aloud on the record during the meeting. First item on tonight's agenda is a presentation by the Office of Cannabis Management on the agency's work and processes. I believe Pascal Bernard will be doing the presentation. She's Deputy Director of Intergovernmental Affairs for the OCM.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having us. I'm actually joined here by two of my colleagues, Adam and Phil. I will allow them to introduce themselves.
Good afternoon. Adam Stoneski, Program Specialist with our Intergovernmental Outreach Team. Phil?
Yeah, my name is Phil Rumsey. I'm the Deputy Director of Local Government Affairs here at OCM.
So thank you so much for having us. Phil is going to need
it looks like I have sharing ability.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect. So Phil and Adam will go through the brief presentation that we have, and then we'll open it up for questions. I just want to level set that there are things that we're not going to be able to answer for you, and that's because there is a lawsuit, and so we can't comment on pending litigation. So just flagging that for everybody. I know that it's disappointing to not have your questions answered, but we just are prohibited from doing that. All right, Phil?
Okay. All right. Can everyone make out the PowerPoint well?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I want to start off here with the roles of community boards and what process you can play in the approval or denial of a license. Per the cannabis law, community boards can express an opinion on whether they support the Cannabis Control Board's approval of specific license types. And these license types are when a licensed entity can sell cannabis to a consumer. So we have the what most people are familiar with, a retail dispensary. There's also a micro business, and if that person with a micro business license decides to create a dispensary within that license, it would also go before a municipality or community board. Also, the multi-state operators, the larger companies, if they're opening a dispensary, they will also have to come before a community board. And I do want to flag an additional license. The on-site consumption license is not out right now, so it's not on this list, but that is another one where a licensed entity will be selling directly to a consumer. So when it hits that criteria, it will come before a municipality or a community board. The opinion that you create will become part of the record that the Cannabis Control Board will weigh when they're making their decision. And as I implied, you know, those are the real trigger for the ability to express an opinion of a license is the selling of cannabis. So a cultivator or a distributor does not have to go before a municipality or community board. The notification to municipalities form is how the applicant will be reaching out to you. We do have a link to that form here. And I should say off the bat, we will be sending a copy of this PowerPoint to you. So you will have this information and the links. The individual does have to make sure that this notification form gets into the right hands. So we do ask them to either use certified mail, overnight delivery service with proof of mailing, a personal dropping off or delivery of the notification form. Once the community board receives that, you do have a 30-day window to reply with your advisory opinion. If you need more time, and we certainly heard this from other community boards that they would like a longer period of time than 30 days, you can ask for an extension by emailing municipalities@ocm.ny.gov. And I do want to say this information is on the notification form as well. The only criteria for us to give the 30-day extension is if you make this request within the original 30 days. So once you receive the notification form, you have 30 days to then request an extension. And a total of 60 days can be given as long as we receive that extension within the original 30 days. Want to shift gears a little bit to enforcement. And I think it's important to understand, how we got to where we are right now and what's going on. Phase 1 kicked in March 31st of 2021. That was when the Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act, or the MRTA, was passed. This allowed the Office of Cannabis Management to have authority over licensed entities and only licensed entities. And we quickly realized that was going to be a problem. An illicit shop, clearly, by definition, does not have a license from us. It's an illicit shop. And OCM had no legal authority over them. We had the same legal authority as the Department of Transportation to go into an illicit shop and do anything. So at the passage of the MRTA, we only had the ability to look into the CBD stores, which were already up and running because they had a license from the state. Flash forward a few years, phase 2, May of 2023, there were revisions made, and that expanded the power of New York State and local governments to move forward on cracking down on the problem that we're seeing throughout the state of illicit shops. There were some, specific procedures that local governments had to follow in order to implement this, and New York State was granted the legal authority to investigate and shut down illicit shops. But that didn't kick in until May 2023. Phase 3 of this started May of 2024. There were additional revisions made to the enforcement activities. It allowed counties and cities only to move forward with their own local laws. Part of that was to create a local registry of the illicit shops. It increased the communication between the Office of Cannabis Management and the local entities, allowed for padlock orders and for additional fines to be levied against the illicit shops. We do want to flag, especially for community boards and your integration into the community that you represent, where if you come across an illicit shop, we ask individuals to use that yellow link here and to report it to us. That gives us the ability to launch an investigation. And when I say us, it's specifically our enforcement team here at OCM, to start looking around the activities of this reported illicit shop, and to begin the procedures that are needed in order to possibly padlock it or take other actions against it. If possible, the more information, the better. You know, the name of the business, location, any pictures you may have, that only allows our enforcement team to kind of jumpstart their investigation and to look into what's going on. And it's an important step in the process. We need these flagged for us so we can start the process of sometimes coordinating at the local level and sometimes initiating something at the state level ourselves. So now I want to pass this over to my colleague, Adam Stoneski.
Hi, everyone. So we're going to be talking about proposed regulations, specifically talking about public convenience and advantage. I know some people may be familiar with this. As a state agency, we refer to this as PCNA. So kind of just going over briefly, we really want to initiate what is PCNA. The regulations actually defines this as factors used to determine whether or not the Cannabis Control Board will grant a license to a licensee, which will not result in oversaturation of adult use cannabis licenses. Key takeaway here is, again, the Cannabis Control Board is the power that makes these decisions and whether to grant. The person submitting that request will actually be a licensee or a provisional licensee. This request is because their proposed location in which they submitted to the office was determined to be within 1,000 or 2,000 feet of another proposed dispensary. Because we're talking NYC here, of the population, it is a 1,000-foot distance requirement, as you guys are aware. So kind of before we go to the next slide here, key takeaway is everything we're talking about is already within our regulations in Part 119.4. Public convenience and advantage goes over, I believe, 7 factors in which the board uses to determine if PCNA is established by a licensee. And of course, again, we have it at the bottom here, the current editions of the regulations are linked on this. So we can go next slide. So talking of current editions, now we're talking about our PCA public comments. Those public comments actually recently just went out on October 23rd, and being a 60-day public comment period that closed on December 23rd. So the slide you're seeing in front of you was actually provided at our Cannabis Advisory Board meeting, I believe this week actually. Just kind of highlighting an overview of the assessment of those public comments, kind of going over generically if it was a support, a revise, or an oppose, and then kind of just going over the subject categories of who's submitting stuff.
The numbers that.
So we can go next slide, Phil. Again, just talking about kind of those subcategories of what those comments were, going over that. Currently, those regulations are being assessed by our teams internally. Depending on if those regulations are edited, they would go out for another 45-day comment period. Phil, we can go next slide as well. So we were talking before briefly, just kind of highlighting the timeline of events. Again, PCNA, the Public Convenience and Advantage, is currently within the adult use regulations, but these are now these new edits which have gone out for public comment and may go out for a second round of public comments. Again, September 10th, this is when the resolution was passed by the CCB to issue these new regulations. October 23rd, they were published, and then the 60-day later would be December 23rd. With all the comments we received and, outcry, we definitely heard a lot from communities, taking all that feedback back and then making sure, if we do have edits in the regulations, the concerns and comments are incorporated. We can go next slide, Phil. So I think that's everything for us, at least, just doing high levels. I know everyone has questions too, probably, that we didn't get to go over. Briefly over here, cannabis.ny.gov is our website. If you have any events going on, you can always reach out to Phil, Pascal, and I, but we also have events at ocm.ny.gov. I think we're good to open up to questions unless the board has.
I believe we sent a number of written questions to you guys in the last few days. Have you received them?
I don't recall seeing anything.
We sent them on Tuesday, on the same chain that we were corresponding to organize this meeting. If you didn't get them, I imagine you guys get a lot of emails. We can sort of read them off if you'd like.
Okay, yeah, I'm seeing it now. Yeah, well, no, this is the agenda that I'm seeing.
Save a little time, I'm just gonna summarize and read some of the questions. One of the questions we had is speak about the distance requirements for cannabis dispensaries and schools and houses of worship. Now, we recently received information that the OCM will consider a house of worship or school as a standalone entity. But the issue is in New York City, two things. One, the 500-foot rule may be fine if it's on the same street in some rural area. But cannabis dispensaries can literally be in the middle of a block, and around the corner, less than 100 feet away, might be a school or house of worship. The other thing is the issue with standalone. The fact is, in New York City at least, there are many schools, both public and private, that are not standalone. They are in residential buildings or in commercial buildings. For instance, the High School of Art and Design is part of a residential building on 56th Street. It's not a stand. Same thing with many houses of worship, particularly synagogues. I can think of one on 93rd Street and
41st and 2nd.
41st and 2nd, 93rd Street, where the synagogue is located in a residential building. Now, this was as part of a deal that was made by a long-standing synagogue, which had a standalone building that was torn down for an apartment development, but within the apartment development stands a synagogue. So I think perhaps maybe this distance rule might be more appropriate for more rural areas of the state, but in New York City, that would cause, I believe, raise more issues than anything else we've seen lately, other than another question which we'll have. But
Yeah, so I'll answer that as a Manhattanite. I fully understand what you're saying, but this is actually something that the community board is used to dealing with because you do it with SLA. It is the same requirement as SLA. So what we did is we borrowed from our, big sister agency, SLA. And so it is the same practice, and it is something that, you as a board are very familiar with. And so that's where we got that from.
Right, however, the SLA does have a rather robust 500-foot rule hearing process.
Yeah.
I don't see that with the OCM.
Well,
Yeah,
I just feel like, am I add into that?
Sure, go ahead.
It's not just about like the 500-foot rule, foot rule and how it's enforced, but a broader question is kind of how are you, to be blunt about it, how are you catching bad actors? Which is like, I think we're here, I'm sorry.
We're just talking about the 500-foot
Okay.
rule right now. We can talk, yeah, that's fine.
But that is part of it though, because
Yeah,
can I just I wanna make a comment. Say, I feel like one of the issues, is that's like very a technical rule, and it's like, how are we able to catch bad actors who are kind of skirting that? But that's kind of a later question. Possibly
the
want to bring that up.
other thing, not only schools and houses of worship, but particularly here in Community District 6, the UN is located, and within that area around the UN, there are many diplomatic missions, councils, and other governmental offices. And one of the issues we have been wrestling with is that how would a cannabis dispensary be placed in a situation or in an area that attracts these types of diplomats, and especially, let's say in September, when they have the General Assembly, and many, many people come from other parts of the world, and so to speak, are exposed to these cannabis shops in a diplomatic area.
Yeah, so I can actually come into here and jump in. So definitely hear the concerns regarding 200 and 500. It's a big concern for everyone, when we had dispensaries coming on board. I do want to say the regulations cannot specify what New York City has and what out of state has. So when the regulations were adopted, it's talking about locations in the furthest most part of Buffalo to the Adirondacks, Long Island to Queens. So they really have to fit into everything. And that was really mirrored off of SLA 200, 500 exclusive use and same street parameters. Going back to the question they had before, we were vetting this. So OCM is in charge of when a location is submitted, we go to that location to see if it violates any of those distance parameters and is communicated to the applicant. With that vetting, we also have our local map, if anyone is aware, similar to what they have for Liquor Authority, I think is LAMP. We have a mapping program which shows you pending locations, schools, churches, and all these other opt-out jurisdictions as well. So we're definitely vetting these things. We hear the concerns. Just want to make sure we're understanding that, you know, regulations have to be able to be applied across the state with not showing favoritism.
Thank you. Does anybody?
Just would like to make a comment with regard to your analogy of the state liquor authority with regard to the cannabis authority. I think that's a, you know, somewhat a fallacious analogy, and I think you should make a study into furthering the issues that we're bringing up with regard to proximity to religious establishments and schools.
Understood. Concerns
Thank you
received.
for that.
Can I add one comment?
I do want to just quickly add that the proximity is in the MRTA, the Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act that was passed in 2021. So some of the issues brought up are would need a change to the law as opposed to a change to regulations. I just want people to be aware of that.
Okay, I just cited an instance that came to us a few months ago, and with a 500-foot rule regarding the SLA, that in order to get a license, the applicant actually had to go to his representative in the Assembly and the House of New York State and have a special law passed in order to get the license, and it was passed. And I understood from my discussions with even the SLA and the council, the lawmakers involved, that this is not an unusual occurrence, that specific laws are made to get around the legal aspect of 500 feet from a house of worship in this case.
That was a grandfather thing, right?
No. No? Jason, you had a question?
Sorry, Justin, don't want to
Justin,
be
I'm
rude,
sorry.
but correcting it for, I would, if it was Norman, but, I was, no, it's okay. I think the distinction between legal and, what, I think understanding the legal part of it are some of our concerns, like seeing where the intersection of the legal framework is, important to understand before I want to like ask anything.
Okay.
So,
The other issue that we've been looking at is that in our CB6 area, there are many empty storefronts, which could be useful for a cannabis store. However, we're seeing, at least in the last couple of months, where cannabis stores are to be located in a currently used space, either restaurant or card store, and the proposed cannabis licensee is offering the landlord substantially more rent for the location. Now, there's two questions here. One, is it required that the applicant have a signed lease in hand to go forward with the approval process by the OCM?
Do you want me to answer the question first or do both questions?
Either one.
Okay, I'll go first. So for the signed lease, yes. When submitting a location to the office for review and for the application to be approved, a signed lease is required. Now, we can work with the applicant if there are corrections necessary, dates, times, all can be cured in deficiencies. But for an application to be approved, yes, a signed lease or proof of control is required.
What is proof of control?
Lease deed, conditional lease. The difference here is an LOI would not be considered a letter of interest. Again, looking for some type of, I have the rights to use this location.
Okay,
And regarding the first part of your statement before your question, this was something because many of, there were many people from CB6 as well as your district manager attended the last Cannabis Control Board meeting earlier in January. And as I said to them then, the situation with a landlord asking a current tenant to vacate the space so that a dispensary can come in to that space, that is a private tenant landlord issue. That is not something that we as a regulatory body can get involved in. What we do is we issue licenses, we make sure that people are following the rules and regulations and the law, but that specific situation, unfortunately, there is nothing that we as a regulatory body can do about that.
other than to ensure that there is a fully executed lease or proof of control.
Correct.
Correct.
Can I ask a question about that? Just as a follow-up. So I think the reason that has been brought up in the past is because it can be indicative of how the community feels. The Hallmark situation that I think we're referring to was indicative. You know, we had a whole community presence here, and it was indicative of how people felt about it. Is there any input that we can give in terms of how the community, really just community input? I'm sorry, by any input, I mean, is there any productive input that we can give besides just a referral opinion? Or just like does what we say in terms, like beyond legality, does what we say in terms of the community is really not feeling strongly about this, does that have any impact at all? Is there any regulatory framework that even takes that into consideration?
So yes, there is actually, that would be statutory requirement for 76, that notification to municipality. That official opinion you provide is an official opinion that attached to the application, and the community board has to weigh that opinion when reviewing it. If an opinion is addressed, a response from the community board would be provided on how that opinion would be addressed. Furthermore, I always welcome community engagement at a CCB meeting. We hold, you can submit public comments through email, or you can actually come to a meeting, and we would love to have any of your thoughts, concerns brought there too as well.
Yeah, and Phil went over this part. So Phil, maybe you can refresh people's memory about the community board opinion.
Yeah, no, certainly. I mean, that was the notification to municipalities form where you have that initial 30 days to express your opinion. You can extend that to 60 days if you request that. And I would certainly, emphasize what Adam said and add that in that form, there's nothing you can't express in that notification form. So when you're sending your advisory opinion, you can take any variable that you think is important and make sure that it's in that response. Whether that's, diplomats or 500-foot rule or anything that you feel is something that should be weighed by the Cannabis Control Board, that's the time to certainly put it in there. And again, you can address any topic and, send us multiple pages if you would like. So that's the time to highlight any issues that you may have. And it's really wide open to any opinion or issue.
Thank you. John, you have a question?
Yeah, hi. First, thanks to the three of you for being here. Phil, I think we interacted when I was chair of youth and education a few years ago at the very beginning.
Good to see you again.
But my point, a couple of points here. I think what we're really getting at is what role do we play as a community board as you make your decisions? And let me be very specific. I've been on this committee for 8 years now, going into my 9th, I can't believe.
Yeah.
And we've frequently intervened, for example, when a bar was disturbing its neighbors.
Yeah.
And the SLA takes us seriously. And what we're really wondering, I think, is whether what we say has any bearing on decisions. And it's good because we're all pretty busy people. And these are long meetings, thank you for being here again. And there's a sense that what we say doesn't make a difference, just being candid. And so we're just wondering, and we're all feeling our way here, right? Okay, we're all learning as we move ahead, with this process in the state. But, we had an egregious case where we had this room filled with 30 people who came to speak out on a license that was granted to a store, to replace a vendor at the Hallmark store that was beloved by the neighborhood, and they just outbid them.
And it's now closed.
And what happened, the Hallmark store is closed now, right?
Yeah.
So we're just very concerned that what role are we listened to?
Right,
If we're not,
like,
we
why
have a
bother?
lot of better things to
Yeah.
do with our time. Susan Steinberg is president of the Stuyvesant Town's Peter Cooper's Village Tenant Association. We're all very busy people. So if our opinion doesn't matter, tell us. But in the case of the Hallmark store, it apparently didn't. And it was we had 30 people.
Well, and actually, if I can add to that, because there was another.
Go ahead.
There are other issues that, one of the questions that I put on the list that you didn't see is about how licenses and shared ownership matters. I mean, this, again, I will call him a bad actor. Sorry, he's not here. I could say it to his face. Is, he brags about how many licenses he has. And the reason, the way he has those is he has 49, 50, 51% shares, not really clear, with a lot of people who may have gotten like the CAURD Tower, I don't know how you pronounce it,
Court.
like court, I don't know. Yeah, that, so he's piggybacking on people who have completely legitimate claims. And I understand that they may not have the capital, and he has the capital to provide to support those, and that's legit too. But there is no transparency about how you are treating, like, you have a stated aim of saying, a licensee should only have so many locations. And it seems like it's relatively easy to game that. And so, sort of, again, piggybacking on what John says, like, we're not anti-cannabis here, but we want, the same way we want like a good barkeeper, like we want a good bar owner, we want a good dispensary owner. And it will become even more important as on-site use, as those licenses roll out. So I think it's better if we can kind of figure this out now.
I think, I think two issues we've talked about over here. One, how are our opinions weighted in the overall scheme of things? And two, there's two questions that you've put on the list over here, I believe was yours. How many retail dispensaries can apply for? And how many licenses can one applicant hold on to at one time? Because we're aware of at least 4 community boards that have received notifications to the municipality for what appears to be a chain of retail dispensaries.
Oh, no, that wasn't me.
That was you, okay, sorry.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we can start, I can start with the opinion here. You're asking if it's worth your time and if it's something that you want to, what you want to do. And so, I mean, I can lay out, the basic options here. You can obviously be in full support of an applicant and put that in, list the reasons why. You can be opposed to an applicant put those reasons in, make it clear of your concerns or fears of what might be happening with the location or the individual. Again, there's nothing off limits with your response to the notification to municipalities. So it can be yes, it can be no. You also don't need to send in an opinion. It can just, you don't have to respond at all. We've had some municipalities go in that direction where they didn't feel it was necessary to weigh in on it. As we've been saying, it is an advisory opinion, and it's one variable that the Cannabis Control Board will use when determining whether or not to issue a license at a specific location. So there could absolutely be a time where your opinion could be yes, and the Cannabis Control Board, for whatever reason, denies the applicant, and they would have to be very clear of why that is. You could say no, and we could go and say, yes, we feel that all the state criteria for issuing a license have been met. So, I certainly just want to make it clear the different paths you can take, but I couldn't guarantee what the outcome will be when the Cannabis Control Board looks at the different variables, looks at whether or not the state requirements are taken care of. And how you want to spend that time or how you want to, mold that opinion is certainly up to you, whatever you feel best with, whatever you feel comfortable with. Whatever you feel is the best usage of your time as a committee. So I can't expand on it too much more than we have.
Okay, no, you just said something that was very clear. You said if it meets the regulations, the control,
Right, nothing
Cannabis
else
Control
matters.
Board regulations, our opinion probably doesn't matter. I mean, and if that's the case, that's fine. I mean, it's not fine.
I mean, it's one variable that's weighed, but as far as, obviously for the Cannabis Control Board to get to a yes, all the state criteria would have to be met. That was an example, but it doesn't negate, other variables. But again, I would leave it up to yourselves to determine how much time you want to put into the advisory opinions and let you determine that. But I do want to be clear, it can go in any direction.
No,
It can go in any direction.
Our experience is that with the SLA, that they listen to us if there's a bad actor and disturbing.
Not that small. Okay, you already opened it. Just a capsule.
Hello?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
My
So
teenager.
that's our experience. And, I'll stop there. I'm sorry, Ms. Bernard, go ahead.
We certainly understand that, and we've spoken with other with municipalities and other community boards, and that's the way that the law was crafted, and it is a variable that the Cannabis Control Board takes into account. I can quickly just talk about as far as the agreements between private businesses. That's something that we don't get involved with. It's not something we can weigh in on. If a landlord decides to take action to put someone that they like into their store or remove someone or even, sell the store or something like that, those aren't variables that we keep track of, that we consider that to be purely private sector. And the landlord is going to be making the best decision that impacts their business. So there isn't a lot of, as far as us getting involved at the state level between agreements between a landlord and their tenants isn't something that we have the authority to address in any way.
Getting back to the original question about how many licenses a particular individual or entity can own or apply for, is there a limit? For instance, we had somebody come here and say that, he was gonna have 30 stores in New York State. Already started one area and it's coming down here. I don't understand that. We're talking about a chain. In fact, it looked like he was, franchising cannabis applications among people who have the applications. In other words, taking apart ownership. How do we address that? Are you
Yeah.
addressing?
So the MRTA establishes a licensee can have 3 retail locations. The question here is what we're referring to as TPI, true party of interest. What percent of ownership they have is different. And what we'll do after this call is provide you guys with a TPI one-pager and an FAQ to kind of go over those minute things. This is probably the most complex side of the cannabis application when it comes to who has ownership, who's paying who.
Yeah.
So, you know, instead of
Yes.
taking up this entire call, I will definitely provide you with that documentation so you can review it. And if there's any further questions, we can definitely address that with our teams here. But yeah, it's a very complex thing when it comes to, you know, 10% ownership, 50% ownership, or is there a monetary value that they're providing for this?
But that, I'm not sure that answers your original question about,
Well, apparently there are, if you get into the weeds, regulations addressing this.
Yep. So like I said, there's statutory requirements of 3 per licensee. That's their max right now. That's
so
again,
how do you define a licensee? What, like, what percentage ownership of a business do they have to be considered the
The
licensee?
licensee.
and that's why I'm going to send you that TPI guidance because it is immensely complex. I understand your frustration, but what you're asking here is the difference between, are you the primary applicant of an application? Are you the point of contact? Or are you a board member? Are you a 51% ownership? Are you a lease owner? Are you providing sales? All these things can go into their true party of interest in which we collect that information. Again,
Do have that information about applicants.
So the bottom
Correct.
line is who tells who the beneficial owner is.
Exactly.
correct. And the point of the primary applicant is different from what we're talking about primary ownership too. Again, I would recommend we send this guidance over so you guys can have it and review it. And then if there's any follow-up questions from that, we can definitely bring it to our teams internally to address that.
Yeah, just to emphasize Adam's point, we have an entire page on the website that talks about true party of interest. It's enormous. I did throw a link into the chat, but we're going to be sending that along with additional material and the PowerPoint once we're finished here, so that you'll be able to distribute to your members. But it's an immense amount of information and it's very nuanced. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
Doesn't make it more helpful. Sorry, nothing personal. I know you guys are working your butts off, but
Yeah, distilling pages of regulations down to action items that the community boards can take perhaps is a long leap. In any case, are there any other questions?
Yes,
So-
I have a question.
Yes, Michael Ann and Susan.
Michael Ann, you have a question?
Hi, yeah, and some comments. I mean, it really, community has been speaking about this for a while. It really seems like it doesn't matter what our community thinks. It looks like the optics are that these laws, so-called laws, were borrowed from us, thrown together. It feels like it's an easy way out for you to just say all this, and it's going by the laws. Community involvement, a community voice should be heard on all of these matters. And we're now really concerned about the amount of legal shops that are allowed on top of the illicit ones. And so you're quick to go and put padlocks on these cannabis illicit shops, but where's the due diligence on the ones that have opened and they're not what they say they were. They have, as in particular, the one Smiley's. We had big issues with that shop, and it's at the bottom of a brownstone. and it's within a very close proximity to the library, the community. I mean, seriously, if we're talking about maybe 525 feet, and you're saying it's supposed to be 500 on the same block, I mean, really, but that you just want you, it looks like you're just, this is an easy one for you to just check the boxes and walk away and say, oh, but we don't deal with that. And especially where there might be some kind of what it looks like bribery from these cannabis owners to take over a lease of someone, a loyal tenant.
So
Okay.
I
think the
I
point
fully,
that
I fully hear you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Michael is trying to make is, yeah, I know numerous illicit shops have been closed in the district and around the city. And we still have the issue of whack-a-mole, but that's not the issue here. The issue is that, okay, once an illegal shop is opened up and is doing what it does, serving the public, et cetera, what follow-up does the OCM have to ensure that that legal shop is operating within the parameters that it originally was opened under?
So we have both announced and unannounced inspections. We have a compliance team, they go out and they do announced and unannounced inspection. And that happens throughout, not just in your area, but throughout the state. Additionally, when Phil did his portion of the presentation, he talked about reporting an incident and went over what we're looking for. And so that's where community can really be helpful by going on our website. And if there is a licensed dispensary, because that's not just to report illicit activity, it is also to report if there is a licensed dispensary and they're not doing what they should be doing, for you to report that. And we've gotten some reports on licensed dispensaries, and we've sent it to compliance, and they've reached out to the dispensary owner and had the dispensary owner rectify whatever it is that, they were doing that was not within the law or the regulation. And so that's what that tool is for. It's not just to report illicit activity.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I'm looking at New York's Marijuana Regulation Taxation Act, MRTA. There is a section, section 116.5, that outlines grounds for denial, basically talking about is the person of good moral character. Can we talk a little bit more about that assessment and what that means in terms of your regulatory framework?
We would
That's-
need to bring that back to our legal team before, I mean, we don't have like a definition we can throw right now.
Okay, because that's in
But
the
also,
law.
though, I also want to point out, right, that Phil did say, when you're providing us with your advisory opinion, to really delineate what what your objections are.
Yeah.
In that advisory opinion. Nobody is saying that the advisory opinion has to be one paragraph or half a page, what have you. So it really is the board's opportunity to communicate everything to us as an agency about the applicant and about, what the board's opinion is. We have had advisory opinions where, from community boards throughout the city, where they've put specific information because they have information that said applicant might be operating illicitly, or said applicant may have been doing, opening up before they were supposed to. And so it's really important for the community board to put all the information in their, advisory opinion, whether it is a positive advisory opinion, whether it is a neutral advisory opinion, or whether it is a negative advisory opinion.
Because it does say here that OCM has regulatory discretion. OCM is empowered to exercise discretion in denying licenses to applicants who, despite legal compliance, exhibit behaviors or histories indicative of poor moral character. And I think we want to understand, if we really feel strongly about somebody, and not just us, the community that we represent, who we're conduit to, how can we voice that in a way that is going to empower, take how you're empowered to take that into not just consideration, but
Well, But I mean, isn't that like our resolution? If we have a resolution, right? Like, I mean, you would certainly,
All right, so,
right?
now, when we review this, we pass a resolution, it goes to the full board, passes, and then it's sent officially to the Office of Cannabis Management. Now, what I'm hearing is that if we have a situation where we feel very strongly that, let's say, a person is of not sound moral character, either from the community members communicating that to us or from our own assessment when we review these license applications, you're saying that we could actually write a hell of a lot more other than just a 1 or 2 page whereas resolution. Am I correct?
Again, you should put anything that you want to communicate to us as a regulatory body in that advisory opinion. Whether it is positive, whether it is neutral, whether it is negative. You should put all of it in the advisory opinion.
So actually, we can write a resolution and attach an advisory opinion to it.
Yeah.
Okay, that would include whatever we want to say in terms of the efficacy of granting a license to a particular individual.
Susan has had her hand raised.
Who is?
Susan?
Susan?
And I was wondering about members of the public too.
So,
Yeah.
I would like to suggest to my colleagues the use of data to determine whether or not our remarks about a particular cannabis shop have real weight. And that is to find out exactly how many of the shops to which we have objected been approved. And we can determine whether or not our concerns matter and determine whether or not we want to continue to do this. I don't know if there's an easy way to find out if there's some
Susan,
compendium of approved shops according to district, but I think that would be helpful.
Susan, that's a great suggestion. And in fact, there is an easy way to find that out. Community Board 6 has a great resolution tracker. All of your opinions on cannabis shops, negative or positive or neutral, are on there. So you just easily filter those. And using OCM's handy dandy local map, which Brian can easily provide you the link for, you can see which ones, very few of them that actually come to us, actually make it to the map because they actually get them. So you can just cross-check them. You can easily see, okay, this many we opposed and actually made it. That's an easy thing to find out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions from the committee?
I just want to say that, you know, this group is not anti-cannabis. In fact, I wrote the resolution for the board that supported Liz Kruger's legislation initially. What this group is reflecting is the frustration of the community, frequently with the illegal shops and how they've been dealt with. And now the frustration where, especially in a couple of egregious cases, we've expressed a very clear opinion. And that's what you're hearing here. And for what it's worth, our elected officials are aware of this and are concerned as well. So that's what you're hearing. You're not hearing anti-cannabis. You're hearing a frustration with a process. And that's what I'd like to communicate.
Thank you, John.
And also I think we already mentioned, like, Dawn, we don't need to do this. We have so many resolutions to go through. We have our time is very precious, but we are a community board. We want to listen. We take in what the community says to us, and we hope to get some kind of resolution for the community voices. I have one quick question, but you're going to know is how far from a liquor store is a cannabis shop allowed to open?
There are no distance requirements between those two separate licenses.
What's that?
There are no distance requirements from those two separate licenses. So a liquor store and a retail dispensary would just be a retail establishment next to a retail establishment.
Yeah, sure.
I have a request from OCM if it's possible, which is guidance on what how they judge moral character means, because when I'm looking at the law, it's very wide open for interpretation. You said that they needed to talk to legal about that. Can we
Yeah,
get
what
guidance?
subsection was that?
The section was, hold on a second, it was 114.
I think you said 116.5, I believe.
Yeah, let me. It is.
What we can do, Phil, perhaps is we'll play the video back and make sure we get the right section. We'll send that to you.
Perfect.
There were a handful of questions, very specific technical ones, additional that you guys didn't get to see. So maybe we can send those along and you guys can send us a written
That'd be
response.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Be great.
There do appear to be some comments and even questions from the public, just a few of them.
Yes,
There was a hand from a Mr. Jason, who is actually an applicant tonight. Is he still here? Jason Friedman? He's waiting patiently.
I'm sorry, Mr. Jason Friedman, before you ask the question, we can't answer any questions from applicants. So
Oh,
you can
okay.
always ask the board, but we can't answer any questions that you may have for the
Okay.
agency.
We'll get that. Then
Jesus, sorry, don't mean it. It's 116.5 clause 10.
Okay.
okay, so,
we'll still send it in writing just so we can be official about it.
right, so you're not taking questions from the general public, just from the committee members.
No, I think he didn't say that.
No, he
No,
said
he
not
was
from an
saying-
applicant.
Not from an applicant.
That's
Yeah.
reasonable. That's reasonable.
So,
Jason,
Mr. Friedman will be coming up during his normal spot later in the meeting then.
Are any other members of the public wishing to ask questions?
There appear to be two hands, Kathleen Kelly and Sarah Jusick. In the meantime, there are some written comments here. Why aren't these quote unquote brand licensing deals like the ones Flynn has with his 37 licensees being flagged? They go on to say, why was Smiley's licensed in the first place? It is owned by the Alzandani family, which paid nearly $400,000 in fines for operating 11 illicit shops. Allegedly, Flynn is buying these licenses for between $450 and $650K a piece, sometimes in cash. Does the OCM not know? What is the due diligence on these kinds of deals that bypass the rules? Those are comments from the public.
So I'm actually just copying these questions and we're gonna, talk to our colleagues and try to see about getting you answers. I will say that, there are some that we may not be able to answer for a myriad of reasons, legality being most of it. But we certainly will try.
Jesus?
And before we get to the remaining questions from the public, OCM, is there somewhere written down where like all the milestones of application are written down, like from submitting your application to final approval of your license and like what the steps are in between those two milestones? Is that written down somewhere?
I think I do have a due diligence guide somewhere. I'll get back to you. Let me see if I can locate that. And I
Okay,
think it does go over kind of like the steps, but more or less what information is being required at what time. Let me see if I can find that.
All right.
I think we've asked that. I did go to the OCM meeting where I met you personally. But I saw a lot of frustrations on some of these applicants that they sent their application in and they've been waiting. They asked for more information and waiting. And meanwhile, they're paying leasing expenses for leases that have been executed and signed sometime before. So, I think it's a two dual question over here. Not only what are the milestones, but how quickly can they be acted on or acted on by the Office of Cannabis Management.
Looks like a
Yeah.
member of the public, Ms. Kathleen Kelly has a question. Ms. Kelly, do you have a quick question?
Yes.
You may proceed.
Well, originally I remember people being in favor of, one of the reasons in favor of dispensaries because it would give mom and pop businesses a chance to develop in New York, but it looks like big business has already taken advantage of this. And I was wondering, what does the SLA do when they're looking at percentage of ownership of a bar when you have a bad actor or a person of poor moral character, as the section says? So I'm wondering about that. My concern is that the smaller percentage owners will probably be more responsible for anything that goes down negatively, and any kind of legal recourse or lawsuits or money owed. But big business, as usual, would be able to just walk away and skate along. So I'm just wondering, how do they look at it for the SLA in who the percentage of ownership of a bar for, that what we're saying is bad actors? How does that occur?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we could dive into how SLA defines that. Not certainly not off the top of my head. It's a different agency, so we wouldn't be able to address that as far as how SLA defines the, moral character definition. That is something we will follow up with. We have Section 116.5, Clause 10, and we can definitely send that around and say that, look for any kind of clarification we may have on that, and certainly get it over to the board.
Yeah, I think what the speaker was trying to get at is what has happened in Colorado and California, where you have corporate cannabis,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to the laws here where we're trying not to have that. We're talking about, again, mom and pop operations.
Yeah.
The final question from the public, it seems, is from a Ms. Sarah Gusick. I'm sorry if I'm not saying that right. Ms. Gusick, do you have a quick question?
Yeah, okay. Yes, I have a question. And that is with regard to the 500-foot rule and the 1,000-foot rule, and how do you measure it? So if a dispensary is located on, let's say, an avenue, and there's a school around the corner, does that mean that they're okay because there's not another school within 500 feet, just drawing, if they're on the avenue, it's north-south? But there's a school around the corner. Is that still okay? I don't understand the measurement process.
Yeah, I can go over that. So again, our
Okay, thank you.
measurements and how we take measurements is very similar to SLA. Measurements are taken from a door-to-door measurement. And if a property is located on a corner lot, that property is deemed to be on both streets or ABs, whatever it may be. So in your case where you said there's a school on a corner street, and if that corner street shared the same street, one of those streets, they're the same street as the proposed dispensary, it would be denied by our office if it was within 500 feet. Hopefully that answers your question.
Well, if the dispensary is located on an avenue, let's say, just in the middle of the block, and a school is located around the corner, but not on the corner, just on the street, so it would be like a right angle, how would the measurement be taken? Would they just measure it as a right angle? How would that be done?
Yep. So again, like SLA, it's a straight line measurement. So we kind of people use as the crow flies terminology. So for example, if there was a proposed dispensary on First Ave, but Second Ave was parallel to that street, but not intersecting at all, and again, no corner parameters, it's not on the same street and it's within 500 feet. So the location in that sense would be approved like a liquor would be approved, just because that same street
see.
parameter is not met. If they are on the same street, or if that corner is, again, on
I
a corner
see.
lot and it meets the same, yes, we would be denying that location if it's within 500.
Back to my original question. If the dispensary is to be located mid-block on Second Avenue, and the next street is 100 feet away, and let's say 35th Street, and 50 feet down 35th Street is a school or a church, that would not fall within the parameters of 500 feet straight line. But in fact, the school, if you're walking from the
Yeah.
school down Second Avenue, is going to be far less than 500 feet.
Absolutely.
So, this is what we have been tussling with more than a few dispensary applications we've had over the last few months. What is the effect of the 500-foot, 250-foot rule on the community in terms of school kids walking past the dispensary, or churchgoers walking past the dispensary that's very close to their location?
Mhm.
I'm sorry, was that a question? I was just,
I mean, I think, again, going back to, this wouldn't even apply to more rural areas of the state. But
Right.
here in New York City, it is very difficult. In fact, it's almost impossible not to locate a dispensary that isn't within 500 feet or 250
Yeah.
feet of either school or a house of worship.
absolutely. And I think that goes back to our point we discussed before, where these regulations are made for, again, Buffalo, New York, Rochester, New York City, and Long Island. When we have talking about children walking by, that goes into our regulations regarding advertising, what signage could be outside. Our retail dispensaries are not looking like those illicit shops that we want to close down. We're not trying to have enticing kids. We want this to be a retail establishment that has the safety the safety protocols in place to make sure that does not happen. Again, all the concerns and all the things brought up today have been written down, and we would definitely bring that to the attention. But
Yeah, I would say, I was on the land use committee.
I'm
for-
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I was muted. I apologize for that. Also, people, when they go into dispensaries, their IDs are scanned. So someone underage cannot go into a dispensary and be served. IDs are scanned multiple times from the time they walk into the store to point of sale. And those are also layers of protection so that we can ensure that children don't access, this product.
So my comment / suggestion, which is in the questions that you will get, is having been on land use for years and gone through many ULURP applications, this is a very new world for all of us. And I think it would really benefit both you and the public if you could, like, I have sat through so many presentations that it's like, this is what ULURP stands for, and this is what the process is, what the, universal, or what, I don't even know what it stands for myself, but the land use review process, like what that's for. And I think if you had, which I have not seen on your website, and I did go looking for it a little bit, so if it's there, it's kind of buried. If you could put together a slideshow that would take 10 minutes to present, maybe 15 slides, that would be like, okay, you want to, are you curious about how the licensing process works? Whether you are a consumer, whether you are an applicant, whether you are a community member, like if you just had that there, it might save you a lot of these questions.
Well, thank you for that recommendation. What I can say is we've done a lot of presentations, and particularly the three of us, Phil, Adam, and I. We've walked people through the process, and we still get questions. I think that people are just very curious, and I also think that, you know, there's still a lot of resistance to cannabis in general, and a lot of misunderstanding of the industry. This is a highly regulated industry, more regulated than alcohol, more regulated than tobacco.
Okay.
And a lot of people don't realize that. And so, and I'm not saying that's the case in this situation. I'm just saying broadly, because we've talked to people across the state. And so it makes it difficult to have like one thing that everybody universally, because we always get questions.
I understood, totally understood. It is not more regulated than zoning, seriously. So, and I would say like today, number one on our agenda was presentation by OCM on the agency's work and processes. And I don't feel like I have, and I do really appreciate you being here, and I'm sorry to be pushing back, but I don't feel like I have a much as better a sense of the processes as like that. My sense of that has not improved as much as I hoped it would. And I really do feel like if you had started with like a 10-minute, like, okay, I'm going to treat you like a 5-year-old, and here are the steps, that
OCM
would
for Dummies.
serve you well. Yes, OCM for Dummies.
Thank you for that. We've actually done several of those with the Manhattan Borough President's Office, but I understand what you're saying. We do have one-pagers. We'll be sure to provide that to you, which does a lot of what you're saying.
Like page 1 on your website, seriously.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right,
Sorry,
thank you.
I'll shut up.
All right, I don't think we have any more questions.
Yeah, I just have one. I just have a couple of comments, and it is to please, you know, you're hearing since you're hearing all of this pushback from communities, like, you know, I would hope that you're going to go to the table and make new resolutions based on community pushback and not wanting, you know, especially, you know, capping the amount of cannabis shops that are allowed in one community. I just wanted to let you know that Smiley's on 30th Street has a sign out on the street advertising, not even on the street, on the avenue of advertising Smiley's, a tented sign which gets in the way of the pedestrians. They have taken up a legal parking spot and they put out a table in front of their shop. They do not have the front of the shop covered. And they've extended their hours of operation. Now they open at.
Michael Ann, may I cut in? I think we shouldn't be talking about specifics right now. We have an issue. I believe the board office has already notified the Office of Cannabis Management about this.
Okay,
So
great.
just waiting for a follow-up on it. Thank you.
I hope
And
so.
also, I just put in the link what Phil talked about during his presentation, which is how you can report an incident. So this is again for illicit activity, but it's also for licensed dispensaries that may not, you know, be operating in the way that they should. So please, please, please use that link, and we'll be sure to have it in our follow-up email.
Thank you.
Okay, Pascal, Adam, Phil, thank you very much for your time. And we'll follow what we have to do in terms of getting information to you, and we look forward to reading what you sent to us.
Absolutely.
Thank you
Have
so
a great rest
much.
of your night.
Have a good evening,
you.
everyone.
Thank you so much.
care.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You.
Okay.
Man, I don't envy who's ever following that. Now we're all riled up.
Well, this is a very intense process. In
Yes.
any case,
Can I just make a quick comment about?
pardon me?
Can I just make a quick comment about the
Sure,
discussion?
go ahead.
I was gonna say that I think that it's difficult because it sounds to me like when they're assessing these companies, they really have to be in regulatory compliance.
Yeah,
I don't wanna be too hard on them because they're doing their job and they're doing
Right.
it well. But I think we need to, I think we need to really understand the nuances of the law and how we can assess it. And if something's not right there, then tell our legislators what we feel like should be fixed.
Yeah, the bottom line is the law is passed.
The law is what it is.
The law is what it is. These guys are trying to follow the law.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there are parts of the law that don't make sense for
Yeah.
this city.
Right.
And parts of the law that just actually probably don't make a lot of sense to them either in terms of vetting.
well, and are ambiguous in
Yeah.
some cases.
Exactly.
Keep in mind, they'd be open for lawsuits if they didn't follow the law.
Yeah, yeah,
The state
for
would say they have
sure.
to follow their,
Yeah, and they're stretched thin.
yeah. So I appreciate them coming. I just want to put that in.
Okay.
That's the
Okay.
kind of stuff that you should put in a reso. Because, giving it to them, yes, they can take it back, but it has to be in a reso for it to be an official position of the board. So, right, all that stuff that makes you, indignant now, note it down and we can form it into a reso.
Okay, can I ask this question, Jesus? We write resos and they have all the whereases. Is there some way, from what I'm listening to them, that we can put an attachment and this is what the board has felt and,
In
let's say,
the comments
in
on
the
the.
comments on a reso, and plus
Well-
reso.
You can attach things to a reso. A reso can take, the form is malleable. You can formulate it however you like. You can also make it as long as you like. So I think within the structure of the reso already, you can add and be specific. You saw the reso that the Flintstone took was a little bit different than other
Yes.
bulk resos. It was also more well researched. That's the kind of homework and legwork that needs to be done. If you want like a, platonic form of chef's kiss, great resos on this kind of stuff, look at CD2's Manhattan
Yeah.
Community Board 2's reso on the Flynn.
Like
Chef's kiss,
4
great.
pages.
That's the kind of stuff that's, and it can be, as they said, yeah, it can be 100 pages long if you have the material for it. But the sky's the limit.
And do you all think that this is something we should bring up it's already been brought up at the full board meeting, but again, to John's point, it is frustrating. If our voices are not being heard, then we are like really wasting a lot of time. But I would love to change it at the same time, like you're saying. Do we want to go forward and ask full board to come up with these resolutions?
Well, the resolutions would become up, but would be your responsibility, this committee.
Yeah.
Right.
And though, as Susan said, that was a great suggestion. Let's first see what our track record is, our score is, before we start leveling accusations that we're not being listened to, though.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Let's cut it off here because we can go all night talking about cannabis.
And we still have another one.
Yeah, speaking of cannabis, item 2, cannabis retail dispensary license for Buds, Dong Chen doing business as to be determined at 514 3rd Avenue. As we heard earlier, has been withdrawn. Item 3, a withdrawn item, cannabis retail dispensary license for Ocean Blue LLC doing business as to be determined at the same address.
Yeah,
Now, from what we heard from Ms. Dong Chen, that they were withdrawing their application, Buds, because they had been outbid on the lease by another cannabis dispensary
yeah,
applicant. Now, that may or may not be the same retail dispensary talking about for Ocean Rain.
right.
The issue I have with both these is that 514 3rd Avenue, like 820 2nd Avenue, is occupied. And as far as we have been able to determine over the last couple of days, the occupant, a restaurant, has no idea that the landlord has been shopping the lease. I checked the lease retail lease website, and yes, it is in fact being shopped. So one of the things I would like to, and I mentioned it earlier, is that as a community board, should we be encouraging
Yeah,
the takeover of legitimate
existing.
existing businesses for cannabis
Yeah.
shops when there are so
There are
many
plenty.
vacant available spaces in the district, not far away from some of these
Yeah.
same places that seem to be on the block for takeover.
A great point. And, you know, as of 5 o'clock tonight, I think, I don't know if you read that email, Anton, that one of the trustees went in and asked to speak to the manager and letting out she wanted to do an event, and they had no idea, like you said, they have no idea that they're being taken over. But I talked to the real estate people and they said they have a deal on the table. Yeah, so that was today. They have a deal on the table, and that they were going to have the keys in 2 weeks.
Good for them, but I don't think that the intent of the cannabis law in New York State
Yeah,
was that legitimate businesses, which have been in the business for years, are providing services to the community, would, as was mentioned, private transaction be taken over by a cannabis shop. I think this talks to more existential threats
yeah.
to the community at large.
Right.
In any case, I wonder if there's a way that we can pen some kind of resolution for the full board to consider expressing our reservations about legitimate businesses. We are the Business Licensing Committee being forced out.
Directed to OCM.
Well, it'll eventually go to OCM, I think.
Right, like that would be.
Would that be valid? Could we do that?
You can write a resolution on whatever you want. You can write a resolution saying we want to give everyone in the district an ice cream cone, you know. How logistically possible it is to actually achieve it, that's where the rub comes in.
We have to start somewhere.
So we would, you know, something, if that wants to be a sort of a policy point or a tenet of the board, that they don't want to look kindly or favorably upon an establishment, a cannabis establishment that seems to push out an existing business, you're certainly within your right to do that and articulate that in your comment, maybe even pass a resolution making that the position of the board. You know, it might be complicated. Judging by what OCM said tonight, they might be hard pressed to be able to enforce something like that, because effectively you're asking them to enforce private transactions between private parties.
But is it OCM that we're sorry? Is it OCM that we really need to get? It seems like this has come down through really the top, the city, the state, that I should say, that we need to push it that far. And like OCM doesn't seem like they're going to do anything, because they're just copying.
They have to follow the law. That's the issue.
What I would advise on something like this is, Anton, if this is an interest of yours, really, maybe draft something first, and then let's see what it actually says, and then you know, we'll go from there.
Let me work on something, and I'll circulate it to.
I'm happy to help at it.
Okay, members of the committee, and we'll make a decision going from there.
Yeah.
Okay. And one thing I will ask, Anton, you mentioned this, and maybe Brian remembers, did the person who announced at the start of the meeting that they were outbid, did they specifically say it was by another cannabis shop, or did they just say they were outbid?
Outbid.
Yeah, they were not specific.
Yeah.
Okay, so that we got to be careful about that.
I suspect that there's another one coming
Because we don't have, if there is another cannabis shop coming, we then have not heard about it officially yet.
No,
And, yeah,
Because the two notifications that we got for that address have now, as of now, been withdrawn.
both, and,
Withdrawn.
yeah.
they're
Yeah,
waiting,
because-
they're waiting for the highest bidder.
Yeah, yeah.
It could be Mike Flynn.
Oh, don't even.
Okay. We have one more cannabis
Yeah,
applicant to look at.
and not to jump the gun, but I noticed that it does not show a tenant agreement. Which, I'm sorry, let you do your thing, and then I'll.
Yeah, cannabis retail dispensary license for New York Cannabis Company doing business as to be determined at 233 East 34th Street. Do we have representative for New York Cannabis?
Yes.
I'm present. I am present.
Okay.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me, everybody. For as far as 514, if we did get this approved, we would knock out that applicant. 'Cause
Wait,
we're
wait,
within the
wait,
distance.
That's what I wanted to know.
Who are you representing? Who are you here for?
Oh, we're the New York Cannabis Company.
Okay, we're
We're
talking
new
about
to
233 East 34th?
233 East 34th Street.
Wait, do you also have some connection to the 514 Third Avenue location?
No, I just saw it on the agenda and saw how close it was in proximity to us. That's all was my concern. And like you guys said, I was also trying to measure how they incorporate the distance, because when I did Google Maps, because the proximity map, the PPLM map was down for so long, I did Google Maps and I was within 1,000 feet from another dispensary, the PS 1116 around the corner. We were about a 0.2 miles from, we were 1,056 feet from that. And then when they do the linear miles, it just came up yesterday, it's like nautical miles. So we're trying to figure that out as well. But so it does, because you can't, there's no backyards in the city, so you can't go through anything. You have to literally walk everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're just trying to see if we would get approved on that notion. And then that would eliminate, I guess, them taking over that 514. That's all I was saying.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Because then we would be in the proximity of that area.
Thank you.
And we did obtain a lease for this row house place.
This is the old row house
Fitness studio.
studio, right? Okay, could you give us a little bit about your background and how you got into this business?
So I'm on the card program. I do own a fitness studio of my own in Queens for 13 years. I am a property owner throughout New York City. I am familiar. I did live in the American Copper building when it was built in 2017. I was in the West Tower for a short time. So I'm familiar with the neighborhood. I'm familiar with a couple tenants and associates in the buildings in the area as well. So I saw this place was available. I'm trying to jump on the opportunity to open up another business and support the community as well.
Okay, so you are a current licensee?
I'm a provisional licensee based off of getting approved for a location. So we had submitted this lease, and then the injunction came and we were on pause. So we've been paying the rent and we're just waiting to get approval or not based on, I don't know how they determine the footage, to be honest with you, linear, nautical, or 5-foot traffic, since it's the city. That's what I was listening the whole time to as well. And that's what I wanted to chime in on, but I wasn't allowed.
As OCM mentioned, it seems to be, as they say, as the crow flies. So if that's the case, then this one would be within 960 feet of an existing one, which then breaches the 1,000-foot rule unless a waiver is involved.
Right, and then we're on different avenues and blocks and streets, and because you can't go through any, like I understand in the suburbs, there's back doors, there's backyard, so I was just figuring there might be some type of variance in the city that we could get waived. Maybe there's only 45 feet difference, or based off a linear as crows fly. But based on Google Maps and walking distance, it's beyond a quarter mile almost.
Okay, and I have no further questions. Is any, yes?
You know.
Yeah.
So I was just like what you submitted to the committee. First of all, I did not see a lawyer in the application, like on the form that we received. Which, you know, that's fine, you don't have to, but it's unusual. And also that it's a sublease starting in December, so you took this lease over from another tenant, is that correct?
So that is correct. So we took it over from another tenant on December 12th or the 11th, right before the injunction happened. And then the
Okay.
injunction happened, and so we've been stuck, you know, with the lease and paying the rent at this
Okay.
time.
So there's in section 5, like I'm not a lawyer, and honestly, like I've lived in the same place 31 years, so I don't really know. But it does say it's supposed to be signed off by the landlord within 30 days. We're beyond that 30-day period, and I did not see a sign off from the lawyer or in section 5, the subtenant agreement to pay rent.
I can get that for you guys if you need.
Okay, send it to the district office.
I would just
That'll-
have a question.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I didn't catch that last part. What'd you say?
What I said?
No.
No, I heard what you said. I responded to that.
Yeah,
I can get the documents you need.
great.
That's not a problem at all.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask about row house. So you took over that lease. How much is the lease now? And for how long?
So right now we have a 5-year with the option for another 5 years.
So why did you take this lease if you didn't know that you could actually?
Because
Like Len, it's
Yeah.
part, it's
Well,
part-
let me answer that for you, because you cannot submit because we're on a provisional license, so we had to obtain a municipal place and submit a lease to get full approval. So that was the reason that we jumped on board on this. It looked like I said on Google Maps, that we would pass everything in the vicinity. And then the PPLM map finally uploaded yesterday, and now we're in this predicament as well. So I'm going to try my best to get some type of waiver based that it's in Manhattan and everybody is compiled on top of each other, and there is no yards or anything like that you could pass through a building.
Yeah.
I just,
So I'm going to try my best at that point. I just wanted to, you know, I'll get in touch with the community, be a part of everything, and see what goes on, what everybody had to say.
Thank you. We have one more question.
yeah, I just have a question with regard to distance from a place of worship. And I think that St. Barton's Cathedral is right around the corner, you know, from 233 East 34th Street. So according to my Google map, if you go the 2 legs of the triangle, it's 450 feet walking. And the other question is right next door to you is the Estonian House. So I know that's not a place of worship, but it is a cultural place. I don't know if you've spoken to them, and I know that on the weekends they do have I think either preschool or early elementary school for language instruction. So just a question to you, and have you looked into that with the neighbors, or is that part of, you know, the consideration?
I was not aware of that. Like he said, there could be schools and stuff in the building that are not listed. We didn't see that. As far as the places of worship, I think it's only 200 feet of walking distance, or linear distance, or nautical, whatever it is. So I think we were in compliance with that.
Assuming that you're in compliance with the stated regulations of the Office of Cannabis Management, shall we draft a resolution of
Yes.
no objection?
I'll second that. Was that a motion?
I'll second it. You made it.
You make the
I'll
motion.
I'll second.
Like,
Thank you,
again,
everybody.
thank you. Good
I
luck.
appreciate you guys welcoming me. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
All right, let's go through the resolution first.
Yeah. So, don't leave yet. So we have
No, the
a
background.
resolution of no objection
The background is making me cold.
for a new license to operate a cannabis retail dispensary. Now, is it New York Cannabis Company? Is the corporate
correct.
name? Or is
Yeah.
it New York Marijuana
So
Company?
it's New York Marijuana Company, Inc., doing business as New York Cannabis Company.
Thank you for that clarification. Okay. At 233 East 34th Street.
Correct.
Thank you. Whereas Jason Friedman, applicant, appeared before the Business Affairs and Licensing Committee of Manhattan Community Board 6 on January 30th, 2025, CP6 having jurisdiction of the premises in the license application process. Whereas the establishment proposes to operate as a cannabis retail dispensary. Whereas the establishment's proposed hours of operation are Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Sundays, 9 a.m. to 10 p.m., and Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. And does the committee wish to include any stipulations for public comment?
I think just saying, like, that he provides the information, you know, promised during the meeting, kind of like, that's not the right language.
Whereas the applicant agreed to provide additional
And
information, lease,
updated, yeah.
documentation to the committee. Anything else?
That's it.
That's it, yeah.
That seems, if I can say, that seems a rather strange clause. I think if this information, because it doesn't really say much more about what it is or why it's impactful here, I would say if the committee really wants it, let the applicant submit it. But if the applicant does not, then maybe this resolution can be pulled and not presented at full board, or it can be changed to negative or something. But it seems a little strange to have a clause
Yeah.
like that that's kind of vague.
Jesus, is that something where we would put kind of like, we would put it in and we'd say, you know, as we usually do, if well, how quickly do you think
That if clause that you're referring to is for the agency, not for us. So if in fact you want this extra information and this resolution is contingent on getting that, then I would probably not put that in there. But if in fact we don't get this information, at that point you either pull the reso, because I believe we still have time to do it again next month, or you change it to negative.
What's your time, what's your ability to, how quickly could you send us like the new lease, basically,
Well, I would say with the weekend coming up, I would say sometime next week, just in case. I just want to cover my back, you know?
That's enough time before the full board meeting.
full board? All right, Jesus,
So
I'm
what did you
yeah.
exactly need so I can get that?
Well, basically, we need, you know, the lease, the sublease, which is signed off by the landlord and shows the subtenant agreement to pay rent in section 5.
Okay, signed off by landlord and section 5 paid rent. I got it. Okay. And where do I submit that to?
To the board office.
To the same,
To that
we've been
email that I've been responding to?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
one.
No problem. I got it. Thank you so much. I'll get that over to you by mid next week.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Is there anything else you need from me tonight?
Well, listen to the rest of the resolution and our vote.
Okay,
Yes.
wonderful.
So I don't think we've heard from any members of the community. If there are any members of the community that wish to speak on this application, you can raise your hand. I don't see any raised hands.
Okay,
Okay, so whereas no members of the community had any comments for or against, therefore be it resolved that pursuant to the presentation made by the applicant at the meeting of the Business Affairs and Licensing Committee held on January 30th, 2025, pursuant to all other considerations, CB6 has no objection to the application, so long as the applicant is here, so all the representations made by the applicant, or that they made to the committee. Be it further resolved that the Office of Cannabis Management application, however, contains a different method of operation, including hours of operation or address, and has been presented to CB6 as stated in this resolution, and CB6 opposes the application and urges the OCM to deny the application based on such misrepresentation to Manhattan Community Board 6. We'll now take a vote by roll call. When your name is called, please answer in favor, oppose, abstain, or not entitled. I'll conduct the vote by roll call and declare the results of the vote. Paige Judge. I think I saw Paige was on. Is she?
Oh, was she? Good.
I don't.
She's there.
Oh, I see her. Yeah, she's here. Paige. You should be able to unmute. Paige Judge.
4.
In favor? Okay. I think I saw Paige was on.
Yes, I.
Thank you. John Keller.
In favor.
Thank you. Here, Paige.
1 second.
You should be able to unmute. There's a delay for some reason.
Oh, yeah.
We got your vote, Paige.
Present. 4.
Thank you,
Got it.
Paige.
Thank you, Paige. Sorry, Anton Mulder.
in favor.
Thank you. Ann Sullivan.
In favor.
Thank you. Believe Susan Steinberg had to jump off, so I don't see her. Sarah Whittington.
In favor.
Thank you. Justin Goldberg.
In favor.
Thank you. Michael Enroe.
In favor.
Thank you. With 7 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstaining, and 0 not entitled, the motion passes.
All right, well, thank you. We'll look forward to receiving that copy.
Thank you. I'll get it to you next week, and you all have a nice weekend and everything.
Thank you. Too.
Thank you for welcoming me to the community, everybody. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Two.
Bye-bye.
Okay, item number 5 is a laid over from last month, new application and temporary retail permit for on-premises liquor license for Urban Aqua Adventures Incorporating is doing business as to be determined at 2430 FDR Drive.
Wait, isn't that laid over?
Yeah, it's laid over.
So we're not gonna do this? Oh, I had a lot of questions
I
about
was gonna
that.
say, 'cause I didn't even look at it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Anton.
Okay, no problem.
Well, just keep it for next month.
Yeah, we're running late anyway. Okay, 6, new application temporary retail permit for wine, beer and cider license for Suk Rui Lan Corporation doing business as Little Basil at 153 East 26th Street. Is there a representative of Little Basil here?
I do not see them. It said the other day that they were coming, but
Okay, in my notes, I see that we had asked them to fill out the CB6 questionnaire at least 5 times.
Oh, interesting.
And they have not responded. Now, I don't know if this is a language issue or what, but I am not in favor of making any kind of positive recommendation if we don't get any kind of
Questionnaire.
cooperation
So-
from
Like,
them.
no
Yeah,
questionnaire,
we
no.
did get the questionnaire
Oh, we
today
did?
at 5:25 p.m.
Oh, that doesn't help me because I haven't seen it.
Right. Which I also had flagged that there was no questionnaire.
Yeah, my recommendation
And
is
if they're not
that
here.
if they're not here, that we postpone this till next meeting and that will give us a chance to at least read the questionnaire. Is that the sense of the committee?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yes.
We'll speed things up. Okay. New application and temporary retail permit for on-premises liquor license for 1043 Second Avenue LLC doing business as Peggy's at 1043 Second Avenue. Do we have representative for Peggy's here?
Yes.
Mike, could you state your name and your affiliation with Peggy's? Hello?
Hello?
Hi, you're unmuted. You can,
Could you state your name and your relationship with Peggy's?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me also?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, this is J.U. I'm the representative for 1043 Second Avenue LLC. I have Mr. Nagy. He's the managing member and also owner
you?
of the premises.
How are you?
Good.
Good, nice to meet you.
Great.
The lighting is a little weird here where I'm at the location. The lights are a little weird. I apologize for that.
Don't worry about it.
Okay, all right, could you tell us a little bit about what you're doing? I know Angelo's Pizza, I've been there actually, had a pizza there some years ago before you closed.
And it's hard to follow that act, right? Those guys have been here for what, 20, 30 years? It's an amazing neighborhood adjoined. What sold me was those 2 ovens that they've used to make that those amazing pizzas in here. So what we're trying to do is have a neighborhood place where a 6-year-old come in, a 96-year-old can come in. Great food. It's everyone loves a good neighborhood restaurant, right? Now Peggy was my friend's mom. Unfortunately, she passed away last year at the tender year of 100. So,
Wow.
So we are going to dedicate this restaurant to Peggy. Now, Peggy was a teacher. She loved, public schools. That she was a huge proponent of public schools. She was a great cook. Her family hailed from Eastern Poland. So we're gonna try to include Peggy as much as possible in the menu. Bring some Eastern European flair and combining with the neighborhood. Now, I've been talking to a lot of friends in the neighborhood. I've heard people want to have Chinese food, people want to have pizza, so we'll try to encompass as much as possible from what the neighborhood would kind of like to have in here. So again, this is all about Peggy. The menu is we're still working on it because every day I hear something new about her. So we're trying to bring as much of Peggy as possible out in this restaurant.
Okay. All right, I see that, prior to Angelo closing, they had had outdoor seating on the 56th Street side of the restaurant. Now, I noticed in
Right.
your application that you do not intend to have outdoor seating, is that true? Or would
At
you-
this point, at this point, not, I'm not sure what the city regulations are for that part of it, so I'm not, as of right now, I would say no, but I leave that as an open possibility for later when we see what the rules and regulations are.
Second
So I don't
part-
want to say no, but I don't want to say yes, because
Okay,
I really
now-
don't know, to be honest.
Now, I saw someplace in the application, you also are affiliated with the Side Door Restaurant on 57th Street?
Yes.
All right. While this is not part of your application over here, I do live on 56th Street and I've walked past the side door many times. And last summer, I pulled out my decibel meter and the windows were open and they were blasting music at over 120 decibels onto the sidewalk.
Yo.
Now, I don't care what happens inside the restaurant, if the windows are closed and people want to ruin their hearing, but I think it's an offense to the
So-
community.
So last summer, there was, the only reason that would have happened is because, so first of all, side door sports bar, very
Yes.
different. Very different. Last summer, we had a huge soccer tournament. That's the only reason why that place was so loud, is because people are so loud and everyone says, can you turn up the sound? So you turn it up and then people talk louder and then you turn it up. And that's the only reason why the place was so loud. And I know what you're talking about. It was insane for that month while the soccer tournament was going on. Now here at Peggy's, we are definitely not that. We want to be a neighborhood restaurant. Now, will we have the Yankees or the Mets on? Sure. It's not going to be a, this is definitely not a sports bar. Absolutely not.
Just wanted to bring that up because, you know, it could be.
No,
health
absolutely. And I know what you're talking about. I lost my voice for that month. I could not speak. Soccer, you know, soccer fans tend to be extremely unruly and loud.
Yep.
Okay.
It's just, there's no fighting them, you know?
I got a question and I got
Yes, Ann.
two
Yes,
quickie. One is kind of a follow-up. I noticed on the questionnaire that you said you had not reached out to the tenants above the building. You're in a residential building. I know this has been a restaurant for a long time, so it's less of a concern, except in that I really look at, you know, dotted i's and crossed t's, and this one was not.
Okay, meaning that how could I fix this? How can I fix this?
Have they posted a notice on the restaurant front door that indicates?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
Yeah.
then I would consider
yeah,
that
and
notice.
that's good
Yeah,
enough.
yeah, we did post it, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
and my other question is, are you related, is this related at all? There used to be a Peggy's on like a kind of diner place on 35th Street?
Nope.
Is that total just coincidence?
So just coincidence.
All right,
Okay,
Just coincidence, yes.
okay, so the Peggy that came from Eastern Poland.
This is gonna be a fun neighborhood place. No,
okay,
is those two ovens, as I said, you can do anything from escargot to hachapuri to steak to great flatbreads. Sky's open.
I hope it's a fun place because I live less than half a block away.
Listen, hoping is not, it better be a fun place. There's no plan B. This is gonna be a fun place.
In any case, just off the record here, you say Eastern Poland, anywhere near Pomza, Pietniki?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you that, but I can find out and get back to you.
Not relevant for our questions over here. Just
I-
a matter of curiosity.
Just curious.
My wife's family came from that area.
I was born in Romania, so it's fairly close to,
Yeah.
my old hood.
Do I hear any further questions from the committee? Do we have any questions from the public? Any raised hands?
I don't see any raised hands.
Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion.
No, I'll do this one.
I'll move a motion of no
No
objection.
objection?
Second.
Okay,
Okay, so a
Baby
motion,
step.
Yeah.
motion made and seconded. Let me pull up the resolution.
I need to build up the self-confidence, to.
So we have a resolution of no objection.
No objection. Second.
Okay, just gonna mute you because there's feedback. Keyboard. For a new on-premises license, with a temporary permit, for 1043 Second Avenue LLC, doing business as Peggy's at 1043 Second Avenue. Whereas JU representative, and Isfa Nagy, principal, appeared before the Business Affairs and Licensing Committee of Manhattan Community Board 6 on January 30th, 2025, CB6 having jurisdiction of the premises and the license application process. Whereas the establishment proposes to operate as I wasn't sure precisely what to call this, since you have so many different cuisines. What type of restaurant would you?
As I said, it's gonna be.
American, right?
So, well, it's gonna be a blend. It's gonna be a fusion because we have, as I said, we have to bring Eastern Europe in, and we have to, so it's gonna be a fusion, I would say. I don't want to get stuck on one cuisine only because we will not be doing that.
okay.
No, you want to stick with Peggy's recipes.
As much as possible. Listen, from what I hear, Peggy's brisket was legendary.
I cannot wait to taste it. Seriously.
I'm just saying.
You better stick to Peggy's recipes.
I'll do my best to replicate that. Let's put it that way.
I wonder what SLA would say if we sent them. The establishment proposes to operate as a very fun place.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see.
Whereas the establishment's proposed hours of operation are 11:30 a.m. to 1 a.m., 7 days a week, is that right?
Yeah, listen, Sunday, Monday probably is gonna be midnight, but just in case we put 1 a.m., you never know. You don't wanna, Sunday, people go to work on Monday,
Good to know.
but just in case it's there, you don't wanna break any rules unnecessarily.
Got stuff here.
He'll be back.
So, the committee doesn't wish to include any stipulations, and we didn't have any public comment. Whereas no members of the community had any comments for or against. Therefore, be it resolved that pursuant to presentation made, by the applicant at the meeting of the Business Affairs and Licensing Committee held on, January 30th, 2025. And pursuant to all other considerations, CB6 has no objection to the applications, so long as the applicant adheres to all the representations.
Okay, we understand the boilerplate. Let's get to the vote.
Sure. We'll take a roll call vote. When I call your name, please answer in favor, opposed, abstain, or not entitled. And I will announce the results of the vote afterwards. Paige Judge. I'm sorry, I know I had to mute you earlier. We unmute you. Paige, you should be able to unmute now.
I will announce results of the vote afterwards. Paige?
In favor.
Judge?
In favor.
Got it. Thank you, Paige.
In favor.
Got it. John Keller.
In favor.
Thank you. Anton Mulder.
In favor.
Thank you. Ann Seligman.
In favor.
Thank you. Susan Steinberg, had to leave for you. Sarah Whittington, excuse me. It's getting late.
In favor.
Thank you.
Favor.
I got your vote,
In
Paige. Thank you.
favor.
I got it.
We got it.
Justin Goldberg.
In favor.
Thank you. Michael
She's
Enro.
in favor.
Ann Sullivan? In favor. Thank you. Susan Steinberg, had to leave for you.
Okay, with 7 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstaining, and 0 not entitled, motion passes.
All right. Good luck, you guys. When you
It's a
explain
great
those.
location. Good
Well,
luck.
thank you so much, and I hope you guys will come visit us. And here's what I say: if something's not right, you better let me know. That's all I'm saying. I can't fix it if I don't know about it, right?
Absolutely.
So hope
Thank
to
you.
see you soon, guys. Thank you so much again. Have a good night,
You
and
too.
we'll see you soon, hopefully. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. You have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay, item 8, roadway cafe license for entity to be formed by Terrence Tabridi, formerly in Good Company Park Avenue Incorporation. Doing business as Park Avenue Tavern at 99 Park Avenue. Is a representative available?
Yes, I'm present.
Okay, I was a little confused. Is there a change in ownership? Because I saw 99 Park Hospitality as the owner of record.
Yeah, so we changed from a S corp to an LLC just for tax purposes, but ownership, lease, and everything stay exactly the same.
Okay. Now, as I recall, you did have during the pandemic and COVID lockdown a roadway cafe at that time. In fact, there's a picture of it. Has that been removed as per the DOT record requirements?
I'm sorry, I'm not seeing what you guys are showing.
Oh, was the Google map picture of your?
Yes, that's removed.
Okay, so now you're asking for a license from DOT for a new roadway cafe to be constructed under their regulations. Is that true?
Correct.
All right. Hours of operation, 7 a.m. to 4 a.m., Monday through Friday,
Correct.
and Saturday, Sunday, 11 to 4 a.m. Okay. On a commercial street, in front of the Metropolitan Commercial Bank.
Sorry, one more time.
You're in front of Metropolitan Commercial Bank?
It's next door to us.
Okay, very good. Okay, could you give us a little background information about the entity?
We've been there for 11 plus years. We're a key part of the community. We service anywhere from corporate America, from 99th Street heading uptown to all of the residential locations, all from 39th Street downtown. So I mean, we handle every aspect of it, from breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and we became really a staple to the neighborhood.
I don't have any questions. I noticed that they seem to be within all the distance requirements on the curb, uptown and downtown and east-west. And so long as you're in compliance with the DOT new regulations, I wouldn't have any issues.
I'm fine with that.
I have a question for Jeff.
Sure.
Hi, Jeff, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Nice to see you here. So this is a new application that you have to put in for the roadside cafe. Are you taking up any sidewalk space besides what's under the, I
No.
guess? Okay. because there were some concerns from community about that encroachment on
Yes.
the sidewalk and that really tight corner.
We moved all the planters and everything as well, just so
Okay.
there's more space, so there's 8 feet and everything to make sure. We
Yeah.
understood the concern.
Yeah.
To be honest, with you, it's been up there for quite some time. Everybody seems to love it. And then
Mhm.
recently, some people have said some things to us, so right away, we took the planters out just to widen up the sidewalk, so everybody
Yeah.
feels there's enough space. We
Yeah.
we fully understand.
Yeah,
And if
okay.
anybody has any concerns, always, please, I'm always around. Please come get me.
You know it, yes, okay, yeah, I love obviously the new establishment is great too. For
Thank
the
you.
Shell Hotel.
Is
Yeah.
that a TV outside?
They have it.
Who's speaking?
Jesus.
Jesus, yes?
Is this
Yeah.
a TV? Is this a TV? You're aware that under the new rules, those aren't allowed.
Yeah, again, this picture was taken, I don't know, quite some time ago.
Okay.
Yeah,
There's nothing out there. All those planters and stuff that are out there are all gone. All the planters around the side, everything's taken away.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Justin, did you have a question?
Yeah, so I'm a little confused. This is an extension of Park Avenue Tavern, or what exactly?
just the roadway.
Roadway Cafe.
But it's run by Park Avenue Tavern, or is it?
The roadway's run by Park Avenue Tavern. We're applying through the DOT for the street dining application. This is our last step for as a sign off to you guys to say that we're moving forward with the application applied with the DOT.
I'll just say that I moved to Murray Hill 2 years ago, and Park Avenue, it's been that's one of my favorite places to go to, but I think they do a really good job in serving the community. So
Great.
I wanted to make that.
Good to hear that.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much for the feedback.
Yeah.
Okay, do I hear a motion of?
Yep, to move.
Michael Ann moved.
Michael Ann, yes.
You could always second, Justin.
I'll second it.
Yeah, Michael and second. So.
Wait, did anybody make it? Did I make that?
I think so.
I'm batting high tonight. I know I am. I'm batting really high.
That seems appropriate.
I got one on the record, so.
So we have a resolution recommending approval for a roadway cafe license. I'm sorry, can you repeat the corporate name that should be?
Yeah,
Jeff?
I'm sorry. In Good Co. Park Avenue, Inc.
Okay. Got it. For In Good Co. Park Avenue, Inc., doing business as Park Avenue Tavern.
I wonder, I probably have to give you the newer application name. Correct? Yeah, sorry. Just give me 1 second. Let me make sure I have exactly what it is, because it's relatively new. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's okay.
It's right
Yeah,
there.
doesn't matter, take a little time to get it right.
Yeah.
Was it, where is it?
It's 99 Park. Oh,
Park Avenue, but it's by Terrence Turbidity.
it's 99 Park Hospitality LLC.
There you go. Yeah.
For 99 Park Hospitality LLC, doing business as Park Avenue Tavern at 99 Park Avenue. Whereas Jeffrey Brosi, principal. I'll change this. Here before the Business Affairs and Licensing Committee of Manhattan Community Board 6 on January 30th, 2025, CB6 having jurisdiction of the Dining Out NYC license application process. The committee doesn't have any comments about the physical footprint or dimensions, or about pedestrian flow, or about potential conflicts with existing curb use. No members of the community, as far as I can see, have any comments for or against. If there are members of the public who wish to indicate a comment or favorable comment or negative, you can raise your hand. I don't see any raised hands. So whereas no members of the community had any comments for or against, this Clause can be stricken. Therefore, be resolved that pursuant to the presentation made by the representative at the meeting of the Business Affairs and Licensing Committee held on January 30th, 2025, and pursuant to all other considerations, CB6 recommends approval of the above referenced application, as long as the applicant adheres to all the representations made by the representatives of the committee. We'll take a vote by roll call. When I call your name, please answer in favor, opposed, abstain, or not entitled. So start with unmute Paige. Paige, you should be able to unmute.
In favor.
Thank you, Paige. John Keller.
Approved, in favor.
Thank you. Anton Muller.
In favor.
Thank you. Ann Sullivan.
In favor.
Thank you. Sarah Whittington.
In favor.
Thank you. Justin Goldberg.
In favor.
Thank you. Michael Enroe.
In favor.
Thank you. 7 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstaining, and 0 not entitled. The motion passes.
All right, thank you very much.
Good
Good
luck.
luck in your
Thank you.
application process.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great night. Appreciate your
too.
time. Bye-bye.
Justin?
Yeah, I just have to do this one, just a quick question of
Oh.
clarification. It's motion in favor, motion
In favor of the approval to,
versus motion of no objection.
So
Yeah,
for the
because-
DOT applications, the form is either approval with modifications, or
But a good question, because it's
Okay, yeah, right.
different
I mean,
than,
is there a-
like,
Is there a
if
write-up
we're
or
for
something
a
like that?
liquor
'Cause-
license,
Yeah,
it's no
no
objection.
objection.
But for it's like DOT versus SLA.
Okay,
It is, it's a good question.
I'm confused, but I wasn't
'Cause
sure if I was
it-
the only one that was
You're,
confused.
you're doing it that way. You're doing it that way
Simplify
because
it.
that's the language that the DOT uses. The DOT specifically says recommend approval, recommend denial, recommend approval with modifications. Whereas the SLA doesn't give that language to us, so we have more freedom to do whatever we want. We
Okay.
could do no objection, but since the DOT gives us language to use, we just, for simplicity's sake, go ahead and use it. You may
Okay.
recall at full board that a member sort of took issue with that because they're used to saying no objection. That's why they're not on this committee, so they don't know that nuance, but that's why. You do it this way.
Thank God for Jesus.
Seriously.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
No, and it is a good question.
Item 9,
DOT, like, you know.
SLA, OCM,
EDC, can I just throw that one out there?
or
I think there's a poem in there somewhere.
We're going out of here.
Okay. Item 9, Roadway
We need more
Cafe
sugar.
for license for 45
You want
Tudor
another
Restaurant LLC, doing business as Tudor City Steakhouse at 45 Tudor City Place. Is there a representative here?
Yes, my name is Aida Lekic, and I'm the owner of Tudor City Steakhouse. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Could you tell us a little bit about the restaurant and what you intend to do with this roadway?
Yes, it is a fine dining steakhouse. As you can see from the picture, we did have during COVID a very large outdoor dining, roadway dining. And we would like to have it again. It's a very quiet neighborhood, residential area. So we would be taking only the parking spots, residential parking spots. There are 2 sites available for parking, so I believe that would not be an issue for the residents. And that would be it.
Okay. I have a couple of questions. On your diagram, it didn't indicate how much space was there between the curb line and the building line. I'm presuming that's more than 8 feet.
That's correct. But yes, we are not taking any sidewalk space.
Okay, because I'm asking this question because I know at one time or sometime you had placed tables next to the building line. Actually, some of these tables went over to the over the 42nd Street viaduct.
Right.
Correct. Yes, during COVID, yes, we were allowed to put tables on the sidewalk as well.
Okay, but you're not going to be doing this now. You don't have any application for a sidewalk
No,
cafe
we,
license.
no, we will not, because we do have also a private patio available that is under the lease, that is not, doesn't require any application to through the DOT.
All right, I have no further questions. Ann?
I just was curious that there was, like, that's a really tight space there. Paige probably has better insight on this. Since, yeah, but I'm a little bit surprised you've got the space to do it, but if you can do it, I don't really have a problem. Paige?
My thing is, I disagree with the owner about the parking. There's very limited parking within to the city. Most of it could be for diplomats. So I really feel that the Roadway Cafe, and a lot of people have made this comment, has taken up a numerous amount of parking spots that would normally be for the residents. We're a very large complex. There are 14 buildings and there are over 4,000 people that live here. And there are no parking garages onto the city. So I disagree with her comment about the parking. I really have to, they do have a private patio where they, as she pointed out. So that's my statement.
John?
No, I don't want to interrupt Paige. She's, okay, my question was this, application for the cafe public? Did you post a sign about it? Does the neighborhood know about it?
No.
Sign is posted, yes, that's correct.
It's posted, and has there been any comment received by the board from the neighborhood?
Can I ask her where it was posted? I have not, people have not seen it.
How long?
It was posted by the entrance, and the picture was sent to the community
Your
board.
entrance is set back. That's not on the street. It has to be on the street that people can see it.
Nobody said that I need to put it on the street. They said put it on the premises.
It makes sense unless you were gonna go back that 10 or 15 feet to get to the door. You would not see it.
Yeah, you need to be a little bit more.
Folks, when we reach out to applicants about the little flyer, we tell them to put it in their window or in their door. We don't give them the instruction to put it on the street.
Well, let me just say this is an unusual situation. If you had seen where she put it, you would understand what I'm talking about.
But they complied with the requirements.
Yeah, on a door that no one could see.
Visible, and how long has it been there? How long has the sign been up?
So I received the email since yesterday, day before yesterday.
Oh, you just put the sign up?
Mm-hmm.
We just got these applications very, very, very late Monday night, like 10 o'clock at night or something. So
It was almost 11 o'clock at night when we got this on Monday from DOT. So
is there a time constraint on approving this?
Yes.
there is. It's now or never. However, if you feel that there are folks that need to know more about this, there will be a public hearing that DOT hosts for this and every other roadway application. So we can certainly let the community know about that. And if folks want to go to that, they can go and testify at that. And it can be done on Zoom. In fact, it's entirely on Zoom.
Well, okay, so I would like to add a comment of observing that particular spot for the last while, that it has been not kept nice. It's been used as a storage space, and it wasn't upkept. It wasn't kept nice during And the last year or so, there's been trash around the establishment, the outside cafe. How much space? What is it the same? Are you applying for the same space? So that's a lot of tables when you could be using just outside, that outside your door.
First of all, I would like to say that is not correct what you just said, because the outdoor dining was kept nice, clean, with white tablecloths and carpet inside. So I don't know, how did you observe that, or if somebody.
I have pictures of it, not in use, like just used as a storage spot. Like, I don't know what was going on.
When was that? If you can show me the picture, I would like to see it, because that being specifically every single day with white tablecloths and utensils and plates and cups.
Every single day since when?
Currently is not, because it's been removed, but since COVID, when we were allowed to put it out, it was kept nice and clean. Otherwise, it wouldn't be voted one of the best outdoor dining spaces in New York City.
All right, let me interrupt this. Okay. My daughter lives at 25 Tudor. I go past this restaurant at least twice a week. There has been construction and sidewalk scaffolding there for I don't know how long. And I have noticed that the construction workers have left debris and other things on the side of the building, at the corner of the building. And at one time, they redid all the vents in the sidewalks in front of the building. And they did leave a lot of debris until they cleaned it up. So I don't believe that was the issue of the restaurant. I believe that was the issue of the construction going on over there. Now, I know that the sidewalk space, and this is the reason I ask about sidewalk seating, it's narrow there, but I know it's more than 8 feet, and that's what the law requires, 8 feet. So
Sidewalk is not being used. Sidewalk is not being used for a while.
And this is just a roadway cafe application.
Right, it's not a sidewalk.
Right, we're talking, yeah, but they had during the pandemic, they had set up tables on the sidewalk, on the building side, and that narrowed the space.
Yeah, which is
I looked at it, it was less than, it was 6 feet.
Yeah.
So without the tables, when they're not gonna do that anymore, it's more than 8 feet. Now, in terms of the parking spaces, yeah, I tried to park around there. It's near impossible because of all the embassies. But we're talking about 4 parking spaces, 3, maybe 4 parking spaces. But we approved, or the land use transportation approved to take away a parking space in front of 25 Tudor. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so, I think perhaps with congestion pricing, there won't be as many automobiles coming into that area of the city.
Indeed.
Okay, I don't have any other comments. Jason, you want to say something?
Justin.
You
know, if you want to make it feel better, you'd be surprised how many people get that wrong. No, people say it all the time, so. If anything, maybe I should just change my name.
Okay.
No, I don't have.
These are very good, by the way.
Sorry? Yeah.
Paige, did you have your hand?
Forget about congested pricing. We still have people that live into the city or come to visit. You cannot find a parking spot. We have people double parking for hours, just waiting and hoping someone could move. I know because I have rented cars in the past and I've sat there waiting for spots. I disagree with the fact that, it's only taking up a few spots, but every spot is precious.
Well, that is the problem for the entire New York City. And there are 2 garages on 40th Street.
No, they're not. There's only one. One's under construction. to the city because of regulations has been under construction for the last year, and so.
I believe,
Anyone?
You've been a member of the public.
yeah, I believe Kathleen Kelly, Kathleen Kelly, if you'd like to unmute.
Yeah, I think did I unmute? Did it work?
Yes, we can hear you.
Sorry, is this establishment doing business as an LLC?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is, what is the exact number on that building?
45,
45 Tudor, because it says in the application.
between 42nd and 43rd.
40. I'm trying to find my pictures. I think we should give more time for the community to see the sign and understand it a little bit more.
We don't have.
We don't have
the
time.
Well,
I think that's why I asked the question whether there was a time constraint on our approval of this, and the answer was there is. And
As a
then-
reminder, all roadway cafes are given 30 days from the time that we get it. We got this like 11 o'clock Monday night. So if we wait till the next meeting, you will have missed your point, your deadline.
Yeah, and also you pointed out, Jesus, that there will be a DOT hearing on this as well.
Yes. We don't know when, but we watch them, Brian can attest, like a hawk. So we put them in our e-blasts that come out every week or so, or our newsletters. And
So
for this
public
particular
will have
one,
a chance.
we can let Paige know, and she can disseminate it amongst her neighbors at the various buildings.
I will call the Tudor City Association tomorrow and let them know.
Okay, so it seems to me like we have a time constraint, the public will have a chance to comment. So given those circumstances, I have motion of no objection.
Second it. Looks, you can open
Well,
yours.
As we just were discussing this, our resolutions follow the
approval.
Yeah.
Was this was DOT or this was? This is through
Approval.
DOT, so
Approval with modifications or denial. This is
DOT, because sidewalk cafe, or its roadway is always DOT.
Right, approval.
DOT is gonna be taking over the sidewalk cafes as well.
Yeah.
As is appropriate, because
Yeah.
basically
It's
it's
a
not a building,
transportation
it's there.
So I rephrase my motion as a motion of approval.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Pull up the resolution. So we have a resolution recommending approval for roadway cafe license 45 Tudor Restaurants LLC, doing business as Tudor City Steakhouse at 45 Tudor City Place. Whereas Ida Lekic, owner, appeared before the Business Affairs and Licensing Committee of Manhattan Community Board 6 on January 30th, 2025. CB6 having jurisdiction of the premises in the dining out NYC license application process. Does the committee wish to include any comments about the cafe's physical footprint and dimensions, pedestrian flow, or potential conflicts with existing curb use? No.
Yeah, is it worth it to mention the concern that's been voiced?
Concern about it.
Because
Yeah, I
it's
think
clearly
it's
been
fair.
something that's
Yeah,
felt strongly, so even if it was very, let's say basic, but like basic language where it just was, there was concern over the parking issue, like just, there was some community or some board
Committee
members.
members concerned.
Yeah, expressed concern.
over loss of parking spaces.
Yeah.
I would say loss, I would just say over the scarcity of parking spaces.
That's good.
If I'd like to ask, like, if you don't get the roadside cafe, will you be putting tables just outside of the restaurant in the little cafe area?
No,
That's
that's,
That's not.
that's
It's a different license altogether.
Is that a question for me?
That's a question for Ada.
Can you repeat it again? Would I put the tables where?
In your cafe, if you don't get the roadside cafe.
If I don't get approved, will I put it?
Yeah, will you use the cafe area outside of your restaurant for tables?
Use it if I don't get approved. I don't understand what the question is.
Are you going to utilize the outside cafe area of the restaurant with tables?
Private patio area or a sidewalk or a roadway area?
The patio.
Patio, I'm paying the rent for the patio, so yes, I will be using it.
That's,
It's my right to use it.
that's
already
part
being
of the
used.
property.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what I wanted to know. How many tables are out there? Can fit out there?
I didn't count them. I'm not sure.
You don't know.
Of any importance because that is under the lease. I'm not applying for the patio area. It's a private property.
No, but
Yeah.
I'm just.
Michael Ann, the patio is a private area. It has been used as long as I've been going by there.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought
And
so.
it is off the sidewalk, and so that is not the concern of the committee to worry about that.
No, it is a good question because I want to know if she doesn't get the roadside then she will have outside seating outside of her restaurant.
It has nothing to do with the application for roadway seating. I'm paying the rent for the patio. It's under the lease. I'm leasing that space. It's a part of the restaurant.
That's good. I'm just curious if you have the ability.
Right now, I do have it. I have rights to have it because I'm paying the rent for it.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to know.
Thank you, Michael Ann.
Do we need another motion? No.
Okay.
We got the
So
back to
are
the
we
vote.
satisfied with whereas committee members express concern over the scarcity of parking?
And I think we should mention that, something about, I'm not quite sure how to phrase this, but about there will be an opportunity for the public to express concern over that if it exists. You don't want to put that in? Okay, fine, forget, but don't forget it, just disregard it. Anything recorded can't be forgotten.
Okay, and we didn't hear from any members of the community with comments for or against. The only question was a question, but it wasn't a comment for or against. So no members of the community had any comments for or against.
The one thing I will ask, the resolutions, DOT will get them, but they don't care about the resolution. They care about the form that we have to submit as official comment. So this sort of vague comment about scarcity of parking, where will we fit that? Because it can go under, there are certain categories of comments like the physical footprint and dimensions, pedestrian flow, existing curb use, and then making an overall recommendation or a modification. I don't know that this comment about the parking fits in any of those. So when we send it to DOT, where will we put this?
Is there just that there's no general comment?
There is not.
So this is the form here.
Oh, wait.
Can I make a comment? I will, as a step off the committee, off the thing and be against this. I will talk to the city association since I'm an executive director.
Against?
I'm against.
Resolution.
Right. I guess let's first things first. This comment that you guys are proposing to put in the resolution regarding a scarcity of parking, where will it go in this form that Brian is displaying? This is what we have to submit to DOT. this is what they take as the resolution. They accept the resolution as an addendum, but this is what they'll actually be looking at.
Can we not, I mean, I feel like when I looked at this, is there a character limit on these comments? Can we just put the whole reso in there?
That when we send the reso to DOT, we send the reso as an addendum to this. But
I
this,
understand.
but this is what they're
But
looking at. We've
in
never,
that form, is there a character limit? Like, honestly, I just am not, I can't see it well enough to know whether there is a character limit in what.
we've never, it never occurred to us to force the resolution into these boxes. So I can't.
Why not?
Because DOT has told us the way to submit comment is on this form.
Right.
And so when the resos are passed, most of the times you guys don't have any comments. So we put none, 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 none.
Just wanna know where to put it. Yeah.
So where can we put this comment regarding?
But I mean, why can't we put it in?
Jesus, what's your suggestion?
How about overall recommendation for cafe setup?
But a recommendation would be make the cafe smaller so as to not take up so many spaces. You guys are just expressing a sort of nebulous concern about the lack of parking. I can put it there. I can put it wherever, by just, I just wanted to see where would it make sense. And right now it doesn't in any of these places.
Well, I just want to say one thing. To be honest, I don't feel strongly enough about because I brought that up. I don't feel strongly about it enough to maybe put it in any of these boxes. It was really more so as a general comment to express the overall broader concern that was brought up. But I'll then remove my comment because I feel like if it has to be under a box, that makes me think that they're really assessing each box. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove that as a comment. Maybe somebody else wants to bring it up, but I'll remove it.
I don't see where that point says that it has to be a recommendation. It says comments related to. It does not say recommendation. That one says overall recommendation, but the other ones don't.
There's one that says comments related to physical footprint and dimensions. Well, physical footprint takes up 3 parking spaces.
Yeah, if you want to interpret it that way, we can put it there. And that answers my question that there were some concerns expressed about lack of parking. We'll put it there.
Okay.
All right, problem solved.
Go back to the resolution.
As committee members expressed concern over the scarcity of parking. Whereas no members of the community had any comments for or against. There are no modifications that we are recommending. Therefore, be it resolved that pursuant to the presentation made by the applicant at the meeting of the Business Affairs and Licensing Committee held on January 30th, 2025, and pursuant to all other considerations, CB6 recommends approval of the above referenced application, so long as the applicant adheres to all the representations made. When I call your name, please answer in favor, oppose, abstain, or not entitled.
I have a question, I'm sorry. The pictures that are being shown here, this is the location?
Yeah.
This is the location, right? On Tudor City, 45 Tudor City?
Yes, that's correct.
That's the Google pictures from before the install of the roadway. The roadway cafe has been removed.
As of July 2024.
Yeah.
So this has been removed as of this moment in time.
But I'm looking at Barolo East and it's on 49th Street.
We're not up to that item yet.
Not, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's the
Okay.
next item on the agenda.
Oh, okay, sorry. Oh, yeah, okay, that's why I was wondering, like, that's not the same location I was talking about. Okay,
When I call your name, please answer in favor, oppose, abstain, or not entitled. And again, this is 45 Tudor Restaurant LLC doing business as Tudor City Steakhouse at 45 Tudor City Place. Paige Judge,
Abstain.
thank you. John Keller,
In favor.
thank you. Anton Mulder,
In favor.
thank you. Anne Seligman,
In favor.
thank you. Susan Steinberg, I'm sorry, she left earlier. Sarah Whittington,
In favor.
thank you. Justin
In
Goldberg,
favor.
thank you. Michael Enroe,
Abstained.
You guys know abstain is just a no, right?
Yes, we do, Anne. We're aware
What
of
did
it.
you vote no then? Like, seriously?
I want to say abstain. I can say abstain, Dan.
Yeah, but it's meaningless.
Well, so what?
Kind of like that OCM thing, right?
okay. So is anyone changing their vote or is this?
No.
No, okay. So then we have 5 votes in favor, 0 opposed, 2 abstaining, and 0 not entitled.
Friendly manner.
The motion passes.
All right, thank you. All right, good luck, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, two more to go. Broadway Cafe for license for Elevated Entertainment Restaurant LLC doing business as Cornerstone Tavern, the Stag's Head, at 961 Second Avenue. And it's at the foot of Restaurant Row between 49th and 50th. Is there a representative of?
Wait.
Yes, hi, we're located on 51st and Second.
Yeah, it's right on the corner.
Yeah. Next to the new pizza shop, next to the old Bar Koji, next to Sakarat, next to.
Yes.
Okay. All right, you did have a roadway cafe on the street side. I presume it's been taken away, under DOT rules. And now you're applying for a new roadway cafe license. Talk a little bit about the Stag's Head?
Well, the Stag's Head is a craft beer bar. And the Cornerstone, we've been around since 2008. You know, we've been a part of the community for a long time. I used to also live in the community. And, you know, we're just trying to keep on trucking.
All right, I have no comments or issues here. I've been past this corner many times. There seems to be enough space for pedestrian passage. Does anybody have any comments from the committee?
It's a fixture in the community.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, thank you.
Are there any comments from the public?
If you have any comments, you can raise your hand. I don't see anybody's hands.
They're getting tired.
Motion,
We wore them down.
ready for a motion. Motion for.
Ready for a motion?
Motion for, oh no.
A motion to approve.
Motion for, oh, so this is DOT also?
Yes.
This is also DOT. It's, I guess they all came out at the same time, and that's why you guys were getting them.
Yes.
Second.
Motion.
Okay, so motion has been made and seconded. I'll pull up the resolution.
Congratulations, Justin.
I think it's my second one technically, so.
What exhaustion does to you.
I'm actually so jet lagged now that it's,
Oh, yeah, because you were in Europe.
yeah.
So we have a resolution recommending approval for a roadway cafe license for Elevated Entertainment Restaurants LLC doing business as Cornerstone Tavern / the Stag's Head at 961 Second Avenue. Whereas Alexandra Garcia, representative, appeared before the Business Affairs and Licensing Committee of Manhattan Community Board 6 on January 30th, 2025, CB6 having jurisdiction of the premises and the license in the Dining Out NYC license application process. The committee doesn't wish to include any comments about cafe's physical footprint or dimensions, or about pedestrian flow, visibility, safety, or potential crowding, or about any potential conflicts. Whereas no members of the community had any comments for or against. Therefore, be it resolved that the presentation made by the representative at the meeting of the Business Affairs and Licensing Committee held on January 30th, 2025, And pursuant to all other considerations, CB6 recommends approval of the above referenced application so long as the applicant adheres to all the representations made by the representative to the committee. When I call your name, please answer in favor, opposed, abstain, or not entirely. Page Judge.
Approved. In favor.
Thank you. John Kelly.
In favor.
Thank you. Anton Mullen.
In favor.
Thank you. Ann Seligman.
In favor.
Thank you. Sarah Whittington.
In favor.
Thank you. Justin Goldberg.
In favor.
Thank you. Michael Enroll. Sorry, you're on mute.
In favor, sorry.
Thank you. With 7 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstaining, 0 not entitled, the motion passes.
Okay, thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you.
So much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, last item for approval, or not, Roadway Cafe for license for Carcomen Incorporated, doing business as Barolo East at 214 East 49th Street.
Yes, good evening, everyone.
Could you identify yourself and
Yes, my name is Astrid Gorana, and I'm representing Barolo East this evening.
could you tell us a little bit about the restaurant? I've passed you many times and I was curious.
Have you never been in?
I'm sorry, there are many restaurants in this community.
Of course. Well, hopefully we'll see you sometime. But yes, we've been there since 2018. And it's Italian cuisine, you know, fine dining. Great reviews, good community place. We have a lot of, you know, neighborhood people that stop in, and, you know, mixed bag with between tourists and people from the corporate world on the other side of 3rd Avenue. Yeah, we're applying for the roadside cafe. It's not a big place, about 20 feet long, so perhaps it'll take about 2 spots, but that's all commercial parking there. And that's it. I mean, we've kept it neat. It's always maintained nice. It's not gonna look like this, hopefully when we rebuild it, because it's gotta be modular and we have to be able to take it out and put it back on. And that's that. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, I don't have any questions. Anybody in the committee have any questions?
My only concern, I mean, it doesn't really matter, because like you say, it's parking, but that street is busy because it's the FDR, it's an exit off the FDR. Did you have any problematic experiences when you were there previously?
No, well, we're between 2nd and 3rd, so closer to 3rd, right by Smith and Walensky, across from them. FDR exit is like 2 blocks down. So no, we have never had anybody hit it. We've had, thank God, no accidents or incidents. We had to deal with a homeless person here and there once in a while, but you know, that I guess issue everybody else struggles with. But yeah, so we really haven't had anything bad, knock on wood, happen.
Right.
It was up there.
Yeah. I have been there. It's very good.
Okay,
Yeah.
I take that recommendation.
Thank you.
That one, it's very good. I like the little terrace in the back.
Okay, I've never been, I've been
In the, out nice
Do
weather.
I hear a motion of
I went with my
approval?
parents.
Not for the food, but
I'll
for
approve.
the,
I'll
I motion
second.
to approve.
and you second.
Okay.
I see no comments from any,
Second.
Do we have any comments from members of the public? If so, please raise your hand.
Got a lot of places in the middle. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I don't see any hands. I'll bring up the resolution. We have a resolution recommending approval for a roadway cafe license for Carcomen Incorporated, doing business as Barolo East at 214 East 49th Street. Whereas Astra Barana, representative, appeared before the Business Affairs and Licensing Committee of Manhattan Community Board 6 on January 30th, 2025. CB6 having jurisdiction of the premises and the dining out.
Yeah, yeah.
it's all commercial there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The committee doesn't have any comments about the physical footprint or pedestrian flow or potential conflict with existing curb use. Whereas no members of the community had any comments for or against. Therefore, be it resolved that pursuant to the presentation made by the representative at the meeting of the Business Affairs and Licensing Committee held on January 30th, 2025, and pursuant to all other considerations, CB6 recommends approval of the above referenced application, so long as the applicant adheres to all the representations made by the representative to the committee. When I call your name, please answer in favor, opposed, abstain, or untitled. Paige Judge.
In favor.
Thank you. John Kelly.
In favor.
Thank you. Anton Mulner.
In favor.
Thank you. Ann Sullivan.
In favor.
Thank you. Sarah Whittington.
In favor.
Thank you. Justin Goldberg.
In favor.
Thank you. Michael Enroe.
In favor.
Thank you. With 7 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstaining, and 0 not entitled, the motion passes.
Okay, good luck, and I'll try to try your restaurant in the next few weeks.
All right, great. Look forward to having you. Thank you so much.
Continue on.
Okay.
Okay, everyone. Thank you. I appreciate your time here. I know it's not an easy thing to do, so I commend you for what you do here for the community board. So
Oh, thank
Yeah.
have a great evening.
you.
Good night.
Bye bye.
Item 12, Chair's report. I have about 3 pages I want to go through.
Only 3.
But I'll waive it.
Good thing you are a liar.
Any old or new business for discussion?
No.
No, the only thing I just want to, keep us being aware of is these, it seems like bed operators trying to open
Yeah.
cannabis places.
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be a better way to vet these guys.
Yeah.
But it might be, unfortunately, it might be a thing that our council members or representatives have to address.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I think actually it's more like Senate and Assembly because it's.
Oh,
so much of the
representatives,
state.
yeah.
Yes.
But that being said, like, there probably are certain regulations that maybe even, that might empower us to, assert our opinion, and yeah. That's what I'll say.
I will also say that I had spoken to somebody who is a member of another community board, and they were like, you have one committee that does all of this? We have 3 of them. You guys are crazy.
It's true.
So
We are.
pat yourself on the back, just saying.
Can I bring one item for new business? I just want to record you guys thought of it.
Hey, where are they sitting? That tells you something.
What did you say, Jason? Just
You
kidding.
brought us sweets, Michael Ann.
See,
You should be here.
See that? You guys are having a big munch out without me. I missed the good one.
Motion to adjourn.
No, all right, you got it.
Okay.
So moved.
Okay.
Doesn't need a second.
Does not need a second.
Okay, so we will close this committee, 9.